Celestial Immortal Clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 451, Kill Them All. All other defenses were broken, and only the 3-layer defense shield from the last top-grade spiritual weapon was left, which was also broken to only 1 layer. At this time, she was very calm, knowing that she could not sit and wait for death. If she only passively defended, she would soon fail and even be killed. Fortunately, she still had the 36 purple crystal scorpions left by Lin Changqing, and she had not collected them into the spiritual beast bag in the past 2 days according to Lin Changqing's instructions. She let the little guys stay on her shoulders and back after being invisible. Now she cast the spell that Lin Changqing helped her train when she was here. 36 purple lights shot out at once, making a lot of noise, which scared the 4 people who designed to ambush her. But at this time, she couldn't care so much, and cast spells continuously, ordering 20 purple crystal scorpions to surround her and form an insect shield to protect her. This was a method that Lin Changqing thought of when he saw that the second-level insect cultivator inherited the insect armor technique. The body of the purple crystal scorpion is comparable to a defensive spiritual weapon, and they can be regarded as small living shields. As long as they are arranged in a certain order and then put into operation, this will be your living defense layer. At most, when a purple crystal scorpion is knocked away, the one next to it will come in as a substitute. This is also the reason why Lin Changqing dared to let Chen Ziya participate in the Jiazi trial. The other 16 purple crystal scorpions attacked the 2 cultivators closest to her. These 2 were the Qingai sect who had just acted and tricked Chen Ziya into going up the ditch, and the cultivators of the Yangshi sect. Each of them was attacked by 8 purple light rays. After the Qingai cultivator let out a scream that was extremely sharp, he fell to the ground and died. The cultivator of the Yangshi sect was a little luckier. His life spirit corpse helped him block the disaster, but it was not much better. His life spirit corpse still had very strong defense, but that was all. It could not completely block the penetration of purple light rays. 4 transparent holes appeared on the body and head of the spirit corpse, and then it immediately fell straight to the ground and turned into a pile of stinking meat without any reaction. The cultivator of the corpse-raising sect was attacked on the spot. He groaned, then his face turned very pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood, staining his defense shield red. The situation suddenly reversed. In a flash, 1 of them died and 1 was seriously injured. The 2 cultivators who were still in the Naxi array were frightened out of their wits, thinking that they had encountered the core disciples of the Qingai sect who were extremely good at fighting and killing. With such fierce means, they felt that they would definitely not be able to defeat them. They took advantage of the fact that there was still someone on the field to hold her back. The 2 immediately split into 2 directions and fled desperately, leaving behind the array of the Naxi array. They ran more than 100 feet away in an instant. At this time, Chen Ziya knew that she could not be merciful. She cast a spell on the 20 purple crystal scorpions in front of her. And 6 more purple crystal scorpions broke away from the defense array and fired a purple light ray at the cultivator of the corpse-raising sect. This time he was not so lucky. Although he tried his best to activate the defensive spiritual weapon in his hand, he was still shot into a sieve. After a sharp scream, the monks who were fleeing in 2 directions were even more frightened and desperately urged their flying swords, hoping to go faster. However, no matter how fast they were, there was only a limit. Chen Ziya was also hesitant, not knowing which side to chase first. In the end, he chased after a monk wearing the uniform of Qingai sect. Of course, he did not chase after him alone, but cast a spell to order the first 16 purple crystal scorpions to chase after him. At this time, they had all run out, 200 or 300 feet away. Fortunately, the speed of the purple crystal scorpions was still faster than them. Chen Ziya followed behind the little guys. After chasing for 300 or 400 feet, they finally caught up to the distance suitable for the purple light ray to be launched. After the 8 purple lights passed by, the Qingai sect monk who was fleeing died immediately after a scream. At this time, the other monk who had fled was almost 2 miles away. Chen Ziya knew that she couldn't let him escape, otherwise, the news of the purple crystal scorpions might be exposed. So she immediately cast a spell, turned around, and chased after the last monk who had escaped. She couldn't care less about the spoils left on the ground. Now she had to make sure that the monk didn't get away. The news of the purple crystal scorpion couldn't be leaked in her hands, otherwise, she would feel sorry for Lin Changqing. Because the two people were about 2 miles apart, fortunately, the speed of the purple crystal scorpion was still good, but this pursuit took about a quarter of an hour. Finally, she caught up with the man and killed him. In fact, at this time, she had been pulled a little far by the purple crystal scorpion, and the two were more than a mile apart. Fortunately, after the purple crystal scorpion killed the target, it automatically stopped. Lin Changqing had told her to try not to let these little guys out of her sight. After all, she was not their real owner and could not really control them, so if she was too far away, she might lose the amethyst scorpion. Of course, the biggest possibility was that after they got separated from Chen Ziya, they ran back to find Lin Changqing. But if that was the case, Chen Ziya would be in danger without the protection of these little guys. So this was also the reason why Chen Ziya did not dare to issue the order to split up and chase after them. After confirming the death of the last monk, she collected the spoils and disposed of the corpse with fireball magic, and then recalled all the amethyst scorpions. She began to return along the original route. There was still a lot of spoils there that had not been cleaned up. Did she and Lin Changqing come to Zuanayan continent for resources? So no matter what, it was also a huge gain, and it couldn't be given up casually. When chasing, I flew desperately, and it took more than a quarter of an hour. When returning, I didn't have to be so nervous, and it took almost 2/4 of an hour. I finally returned to the place where the fight was originally fought. Fortunately, everything on the ground was still there, and no one picked it up. Chen Ziya endured the discomfort and collected all the spoils from the 3 corpses. Then she used the fireball technique to deal with the 4 corpses, including the spirit corpse, and scanned the scene twice with her spiritual sense. She wiped out all the traces of the fight and finally collected the 2nd-level breathing array, then left the place and headed towards the direction where Lin Changqing was. Chapter 452, The Hero Does Not Save the Beauty. Because the incident she just experienced was too sudden, too exciting, and too dangerous for her, she was still a little frightened. Therefore, she did not fly too far. After more than 200 miles, she found a secluded place to rest. She had to adjust herself first and send a message to Lin Changqing. She felt it just now. The phoenix tail homophone scorpion in the storage bag had sounded several times. Lin Changqing must have known that she was in trouble, so he sent her messages so frequently. Now Chen Ziya had to report to him that she was safe. However, after thinking about it for a while, she did not plan to tell Lin Changqing too much about the specific situation, so as not to make him anxious and worried. After the two of them finished talking, Chen Ziya took a good rest and adjusted herself. This incident still had a great impact on her. He had never thought that she would really encounter such a thing. Lin Changqing had been telling her that there were no rules in the secret realm, and her fellow disciples might not be trustworthy, and might even attack her. She had always been skeptical, but now she had encountered 2 fellow disciples who were plotting to kill her. This really shocked her and refreshed her cognition. She spent a little time to digest all these things, and then pasted a few defensive talismans on herself. During the fight just now, a top-grade spiritual weapon was damaged, but he recovered it. When the time comes, it can be repaired and sold for spiritual stones. Then he took out the spared defensive spiritual weapon, and injected mana into the 2 top-grade defensive spiritual weapons on his waist to restore their defensive capabilities. As for the spoils of the 4 people, she would look at them when she rested at night. Now she still had to hurry on her way. Try to meet up with Lin Changqing as soon as possible, otherwise she would always be worried. After everything was done, she continued to set off. This time she endured such a great danger, it can be said that she narrowly escaped death. She will be more cautious in the future, and after self-examination, she will not make such a low-level mistake again. Lin Changqing was also on his way, but because he had Chu Ai to give him a warning, he was still doing 2 things at the same time. While flying on the sword, he was thinking about the matter of the god-shaking cicada. Although he had already caught 480 god-shaking cicadas. Whether he could make a contract or not was not the first thing to say, but the most important problem he had to solve was the problem of the god-shaking cicadas feeding. He didn't carry any spiritual liquid suitable for the god-shaking cicada to eat. He was absolutely reluctant to put the god-shaking cicada into the inner space to suck the sap and let them go in and eat the spiritual plants in the inner space. This was a headache. The only thing that was liquid and rich in spiritual power was the 100-year-old Hugo wine. He didn't know whether the god-shaking cicada would absorb this Huguo wine. He only knew that he himself was reluctant to feed them with his Huguo wine. He spent a lot of time and thought of several methods, but it seemed that none of them would work. In the end, he could only put this problem aside. After all, he had just captured them from the purple bamboo forest. At least they must still have something in their stomachs. There shouldn't be any big problems if he doesn't eat for 2 or 3 days. During this time, he wants to go and meet up with Chen Ziya. At this time, Shuai sent him a warning, telling him that there were 2 monks 10 miles away, one in front and one behind, 200 or 300 feet apart. They were approaching in his direction. According to this trend, they would most likely run into Lin Changqing. After receiving the warning, Lin Changqing didn't want to cause any trouble, so he pressed the flying sword and hid his figure in the woods. He also notified Shuai through the contract to let it fly higher, so as not to be seen by others and expose Lin Changqing's position. After a while, there were indeed 2 monks, one chasing and the other fleeing, passing by all his positions not far away. The one running in front was a female cultivator of Miao sect, and the one chasing behind was a male cultivator whose sect could not be identified. Lin Changqing took a closer look and found that the person running in front was Song Yuan, who had just separated yesterday. Looking at the direction she ran, he had more or less some guesses. Song Yuan obviously encountered an enemy that she couldn't deal with. She ran in this direction, most likely to lead the enemy to the purple bamboo forest and ask Lin Changqing for help. No, it should be that she wanted to use Lin Changqing's hand to get rid of her enemies, and kill with a boro knife. Because in her mind, Lin Changqing would definitely not want others to know that there were cicadas in the purple bamboo forest. Therefore, as long as she led this enemy that she couldn't deal with to Changqing, that person would be dead, so she would keep running in this direction. She speculated based on the time that Lin Changqing must be near the purple bamboo forest at this time, trying to catch those cicadas. However, after Lin Changqing figured it out, he didn't plan to take action. He hated people calculating against him very much, so he decided to ignore them and let them fight to the death. Although Song Yuan led him to find the cicada, it was a deal between them. Their deal was completed yesterday, and they didn't owe each other anything. Now Song Yuan is just a familiar stranger to him, and her life and death has nothing to do with Lin Changqing. So, he stood below and watched quietly, not intending to intervene, so as not to delay his time to meet up with Chen Ziya. After both of them flew over, Lin Changqing waited for a while to confirm that there was no problem, and then he continued on his way. In the next 2 hours, he did not encounter any monsters. He suspected that Song Yuan went in this direction in the morning, encountered and cleaned up. This is also good, saving him from wasting time. In this way, more than 2 hours passed, until it was almost dark. He encountered a few second-level green wood lions, 1 male and 2 females, all of which look very powerful, and there were no other lions. It was estimated that they were out hunting. Lin Changqing spent a little time to kill them, and then found a suitable place to prepare for camping. According to the previous method, after setting up the camp and activating the magic circle, he entered the magic circle. It took some time to deal with the bodies of the 3 second-level green wood lions first, and the most important thing was to put the demon pills in order according to their grades. After thinking for a while, he decided to enter the inner space. He wanted to plant the 7-star grass he harvested yesterday first, as it was more important. In addition, when he was looking for the cicada in the morning, he also dug up 30 or 40 purple bamboo seedlings, which could be planted together. Chapter 453, The Law of the Jungle. However, it is still unknown when it will grow to the point where it can feed hundreds of god-shaking cicadas. In fact, the best way is to dig out all the purple bamboos in the purple bamboo forest and transplant them into that space. That is the quickest way. Unfortunately, he had to meet up with Chen Ziya, and he really didn't have that much time to dig bamboo there. Otherwise, it would be perfect to dig these purple bamboos back and plant them in the inner space. Unfortunately, in this 10-mile purple bamboo forest, Lin Changqing found more than a dozen second-level purple jade bamboos, but they were all dead, leaving only an empty shell. It should have been sucked dry by the god-shaking cicadas. There was no intact second-level purple jade bamboo in the entire purple bamboo forest. After entering the inner space, Lin Changqing dealt with a few 3-color deer. After thinking about it, he released Lu Yaoqiang and Lu Yaoguang. Let them breathe in the inner space, accompany their family, and take them away when he is about to leave. After Su Miniang and Zhao Linyu came over and greeted him, He handed over the 7-star grass, purple bamboo seedlings, and the harvested demon-luring grass to them. He also ordered that enough space should be reserved, and it would be best to set aside an area specifically for planting purple bamboo. Maybe in the future, a purple bamboo forest could be bred. After the two received the order and went down to work, Lin Changqing wandered around in the space by himself. Now that the space is larger, there are many kinds of spiritual medicines and spiritual plants planted in it. There are many spiritual medicines that even Lin Changqing himself has forgotten. Now it took more than an hour to walk around carefully. He had a rough idea in his mind. Finally, he made a spiritual pill for the queen bee and turned it into water and sent it to the entrance of the hive. Then he took Liu Yaoqiang, Liu Yaoguang and others, left the inner space, and returned to the magic circle. The next step was to practice the Thunder Sutra. On the other side, Chen Ziya also found a suitable place to rest. She had been on the road all day, encountered 2 demon beasts, and harvested 6 demon pills. However, she did not dare to provoke a large number of beasts, so it was already very impressive to harvest these. Ordinary Huki cultivators, without the assistance of the purple crystal scorpion, would probably only hunt 2 or 3 second-level monsters a day, which would be very impressive. Some might not even have this record. But what she is interested in now is not those monster pills. She also has 13 storage bags on her body. These are Chen Ziya's spoils of war during the day. From this look, it is estimated that at least several cultivators should have been harmed, because she saw 5 or 6 sect marks on these 13 storage bags. Proving that the 4 people have succeeded at least 2 or 3 times, Chen Ziya sighed in her heart. In a place without rules and constraints, it is really a naked law of the jungle. But it did not affect her mood to count the spoils. After all, she and Lin Changqing have done this kind of thing many times. It took some time to practice all the storage bags, because there were too many things. Fortunately, someone had already sorted them out first, and she spent some time to count them clearly. As for the spiritual stones, there were fewer low-grade ones, less than 10,000 in total. But there were nearly 2,000 medium-grade spiritual stones, which was equivalent to getting a purple mansion Twangsun pill. This harvest was not small for Chen Ziya, and she was in a good mood with this harvest. There were more spiritual tools, more than 30 kinds of offensive and defensive spiritual tools, all grades, and even a coffin as tall as a person. Chen Ziya knew that this spiritual tool was the standard configuration of the corpse-raising sect. Almost every disciple of the corpse-raising sect had one. However, she was horrified by this thing, and felt that it was too unlucky. So she decided not to keep it in her hands. Instead, she found another hidden place and buried it, so as not to feel uncomfortable carrying it on her body. There were more pills, a total of nearly 100 bottles, most of which were pills for restoring mana and healing, and a small part for improving cultivation. But there were also some pills that she didn't recognize at all, and she definitely didn't dare to use them casually. She sorted them and put them away. She would consult Zhao Mingxia or look up the information about the unknown pills when she returned. There were more than 300 jade boxes, but most of them were empty. There were not many with things in them. The most important thing was that she found 25 demon pills. Most of them were in the early stage of the second stage, and only 6 were in the middle stage of the second stage or above. With her own, Chen Ziya already had nearly 40 demon pills. As long as she worked a little harder, she could collect 40 demon pills, and then she could give all the extra ones to Lin Changqing. This would also help him and see if he could fight for the final opportunity. In this way, she herself could be regarded as having played a role and could help him a little. There were 7 or 8 kinds of spiritual medicines in the jade box, and then there were several identity jade cards covered with cracks, and more than 10 jade slips. After Chen Ziya checked them, she threw them all aside. Many of them were jade slips about the introduction of the trial secret realm. The rest were all kinds of practice notes, which were of no use to her. In addition to these, she also harvested dozens of materials and blood essence from second-level monsters. However, only a little monster meat was found. It was probably left by them for their own consumption. The rest should have been abandoned by them. Finally, there was a lot of daily necessities, as well as clothes and sundries. She thought about it and found a storage bag. She put all these sundries and the spiritual coffin together, then went out of the camp, dug a deep pit, and buried the storage bag in it. After doing all this, she went back and sorted the things into her storage bag. She was in a great mood after harvesting so many spiritual objects. She especially wanted to meet up with Lin Changqing as soon as possible, and she wanted to share her harvest with him. When someone is happy, naturally someone is sad. Song Yuan was forced to leave the purple bamboo forest by Lin Changqing yesterday evening. In fact, she didn't run too far at that time. After all, it was more dangerous in the secret realm at night. After flying 40 or 50 miles, she found a hidden place to camp. The next morning, she did not stay too long. After packing up, she headed southeast. She also harvested 2 or 3 demon pills along the way. But her luck was too bad. She actually met a cultivator from the Blood Shadow sect. After fighting with him for a few rounds, Song Yuan knew that she was no match for him. Because the blood-related skills were too weird, she was helpless and thought of seeing your brother Gao whom she met yesterday. Chapter 454, Surprise. Thinking that he must be in the purple bamboo forest now, and the distance was not too far, she suddenly had an idea and wanted to borrow senior brother Gao's hand. To get rid of this cultivator from the Blood Shadow sect, she rushed to the purple bamboo forest all the way, but after all her hard work, when she got there, she didn't find senior brother Gao at all, causing her to almost fall into the hands of the Blood Shadow sect cultivator. At that time, it was really like calling the sky and the earth but no one answered, and she was on the verge of death before she risked rushing into the purple bamboo forest and borrowed the power of the remaining shocking god cicada. She was able to trick the Blood Shadow sect cultivator and buy herself some time to escape, but the problem was that she didn't completely get rid of the Blood Shadow sect cultivator. Now she felt that the man was still following behind her. Although she didn't see him, she had an inexplicable sense of crisis in her heart. So she didn't dare to stop, and could only run desperately. Even when it was completely dark, she didn't dare to stop. Fortunately, more than an hour after dark, the inexplicable sense of crisis behind her finally disappeared. But she didn't dare to stop immediately, but changed another direction and continued to run for half an hour before she dared to stop and find a place to rest. Today was too sad and too painful for her. She couldn't help it several times and wanted to turn around and fight with that person. Fortunately, with her persistence, she finally saved her life. But today really exhausted her. After several hours of anxiety, fortunately, the final ending was still good. Early the next morning, Lin Changqing packed up everything, released Chuai, and then continued to set off. Today he had to try to travel as much as possible so that he could meet up with Chen Ziding earlier tomorrow. But 2 hours later, he knew that he had thought too much, because in just this little time, he had avoided 2 monks through Chuai's warning. And seeing a group of more than a dozen hard-shelled long-tusked pigs, he did not kill them, just because he was afraid that the noise would be too loud and cause unnecessary trouble. After flying for more than an hour, he finally saw something extraordinary, a huge red beam of light, rushing straight into the sky. Lin Changqing's heart moved, and he had more or less guessed what it was. No wonder so many monks gathered around. The red light column dozens of miles away should be the location of the sacrificial array. There is not only one such sacrificial array. There is one every 10,000 or 20,000 miles. There are about 50 to 60 such arrays in the entire second-level trial secret realm. However, this also caused the frequency of monks appearing around the sacrificial array to increase greatly, so that all kinds of fighting and killing emerged in an endless stream. After all, as long as you kill a monk of the same level, you may get a lot of demon pills and various spiritual objects. So this area is also called the Bloody Area. Lin Changqing thought about it and still didn't go over. Now is not the time. His most important task is to meet up with Chen Zilaya, and everything else is secondary. Not wanting to get close to the sacrificial array, Lin Changqing also slightly adjusted the direction and took out a magic veil to cover himself. After more than an hour, he successfully left the area. After getting the direction right, he continued to set off. He flew southeast for more than 2 hours. Because the magic veil covered him, he had less trouble. However, when he passed over a forest, he heard several faint yo-yo-yo sounds, and Lin Changqing stopped immediately. He thought he was hallucinating and heard it wrong. He quickly communicated with Chuai through the contract, and then he knew that it was right. On his left-hand side, 7 or 8 miles away, there were indeed 3 colored deer desperately fleeing, and now there were 2 monks behind them, chasing them. And they were gradually moving away from where Lin Changqing was, which made Lin Changqing embarrassed. He wanted the auspicious sign of the 3 colored deer very much, but it was also very important to rush over and join Chen Zilaya. After carefully weighing it in his mind, He decided to catch up with those 3 color deer to see what was going on. If he could capture a few of them, that would be the best. The flying sword was used to rush over quickly. All 3 parties were moving at high speed. After 2/4 of an hour, Lin Changqing got slightly closer to them. Only then did he distinguish that they were 2 monks from the Yuling sect, trying to capture 3 tricolor deer, 2 large and 1 small. It was a family. The female deer must be pregnant, with a big belly, which was very conspicuous. And for the sake of the little deer, they did not use the wind escape technique to run away, which slowed down their overall speed. As a result, they have never been able to get rid of the pursuit of the 2 Yuling sect monks, and the Yuling sect monks obviously know their great role. So they have never been ruthless, hoping to tire them out and capture them alive, but unfortunately, they have been tossing for so long and have not succeeded. Instead, it has attracted the attention of others, at least Lin Changqing was attracted by them. The auspicious sign of the tricolor deer must be occupied by the virtuous. How to judge who is the virtuous, of course, is to see whose means are powerful. In addition, he really didn't want to waste too much time here, so he simply made a quick decision. With a thought, the 36-second level purple crystal scorpion split into 2 groups, with 12 in each group rushing towards the 2 Yuling sect monks. They didn't have much time to react, and Lin Changqing attacked them unexpectedly. So there was no decent resistance. The 2 monks just let out 2 sharp screams and died. This biggest change scared the 3 color deer. The remaining 24 purple crystal scorpions took this opportunity to form a relatively large encirclement and surrounded their family. At this time, they also knew how powerful the purple crystal scorpions were, and they knew they were surrounded, so they didn't dare to continue to rush in. At this time, the 2 big 3 color deer sandwiched the small 3 color deer in the middle, obviously wanting to protect it from being hurt. This kind of spiritual and elegant creature is really very likable, and people can't bear to hurt them. But Lin Changqing knew that now their family was panicked, and there was definitely no way to communicate with them. So there was no need to waste time or expressions, and Liu Yaoqiang and Liu Yaoguang were released directly. Chapter 455 10 3 color deer. And through the contract, let them try their best to help persuade the 3 color deer to surrender. If it is not enough, he's going to run to the inner space. Pull out all the 3 color deer and make sure to deal with them in the shortest time. In case other people come over, there will be complications. Let them communicate with each other. He went to the 2 Yuling sect monks and collected all his spoils. Then he used the fireball technique to deal with their bodies to prevent others from finding any clues on the bodies. When he came back, he saw several 3 color deer communicating all the time. Yo-yo, the sound kept ringing back and forth. He knew it shouldn't be that fast, so after confirming that there were no other people around, he went directly into the inner space and summoned all the 3 color deer at the fastest speed, and gave them the task of helping to persuade them to surrender through the contract. After confirming that there was no problem, he put them into the spirit beast bracelet and took them out of the inner space. When he returned to the trial secret realm, Liu Yaoqiang and Liu Yaoguang had not yet dealt with that family, so Lin Changqing directly released all the 3 color deer. This time the field was even more lively, and they really kept calling yo-yo-yo. He waited patiently for a while, and when all the 3 color deer gradually quieted down, when they looked at him, Lin Changqing knew that it was almost done, and he was very experienced in the rest of the things. So he slowly approached them, then wiped the storage bag and took a 100-year-old red fruit in his hand. He slowly stretched the red fruit in front of the male deer. At first, it was still a little scared, but seeing so many of its kind around, it still gave it a lot of courage. And the temptation of this red fruit to it was also not small, so it finally stretched out its tongue and rolled the red fruit into its mouth. Seeing that it accepted his things, Lin Changqing knew that there should be no problem, so he slowly put his hand on its head and gently stroked it. It just subconsciously dodged for a moment, then reacted and stood still, obviously ready. In this case, Lin Changqing was not polite and directly chanted the spell of the master servant's contract. Then he pierced his finger with a golden needle, forced out a drop of blood essence containing his own magic power, and dripped it on the forehead of the male deer. Soon the blood essence was absorbed into the sea of consciousness by the male deer, and he could immediately sense the existence of the male deer in his mind. He also felt the waves of submission conveyed by the male deer through the contract. He also conveyed his meaning to the male deer through the contract. The male deer nodded very humanely, and then called yo-yo to the female deer and the little male deer a few times. The next thing was very smooth. After Lin Changqing fed each of the female deer and the little male deer a red fruit, they all signed the master servant's contract with him very obediently. After everything was completed, he did not dare to delay here any longer, and put all the 10 three-colored deer into the spirit beast bracelet. After searching the surroundings twice with his spiritual sense, he found nothing missing and no treasures, so he recalled all the purple crystal scorpions and continued on his way. Meeting these three-colored deer and successfully subduing them made Lin Changqing feel extremely happy. After all, these were two two-stage middle-stage three-colored deer. Moreover, the little male deer also had the cultivation of the first stage late stage. If it were not for the fact that the little male deer did not know the wind escape technique yet, its parents would not be willing to abandon it. Otherwise, they would have run away without a trace, and it would not have been Lin Changqing's turn to pick up the leak here, so he still had to thank the little male deer. And once they came, they could work for Lin Changqing immediately, which was equivalent to 3 spiritual plant masters, and they did not need to be paid, which made him feel extremely happy. In addition, they usually only ate grass and at most gave some spiritual nurturing pills and 100-year-old red fruits. The resources consumed were not many, and they were considered one of Lin Changqing's favorite spiritual beasts. With their joining, I believe that it will not be long before the output in the inner space will definitely be more and more abundant. With the help of Chuai's warning, he avoided the 2 cultivators and a large group of red fire bulls. It was almost dark. Lin Changqing quickly found a suitable place and arranged the magic circle. He also let all the purple crystal scorpions of the first and second levels form a 3-dimensional defense. After recalling Chuai and activating the magic circle, he went directly into the inner space. It would definitely not work to have so many 3-colored deer in his spirit beast bracelet. To get them back to the inner space quickly and let them get familiar with it as soon as possible, this task will be handed over to Su Miniang and Zhao Linyu. I believe they can arrange them well. After all, the 2 of them did a good job before. Everything in the inner space is arranged in an orderly manner. After entering the inner space, Lin Changqing summoned Su Miniang and Zhao Linyu and others, and then released 10 three-colored deer. Through the contract, he introduced both parties and asked them to take good care of the new 3-colored deer. Lin Changqing thought about it and gave them names. They all followed the same method. The male deer was named Lu Yuan, the female deer was named Lu Xiaolin, and the young male deer was named Lu Xiaoyong. Among all the 3-colored deer, Lu Yuan and Lu Xiaolin were the ones with the highest cultivation. However, after thinking about it, he decided to let the whole family stay in the inner space first and not take them out for the time being. Lin Changqing would leave later, still taking Lu Yaoqiang and Lu Yaoguang with him, but since he had already come in, he decided to simply sacrifice the 5 storage bags, 3 spirit beast bags, and a second-level spirit beast bracelet of the 2 unlucky guys from the Yuling sect here to see what was inside. Lin Changqing was most interested in this spirit beast bracelet. He especially wanted to know what other people's spirit beast bracelets looked like. So the first object he chose for the sacrifice was this bracelet. After spending some time to successfully sacrifice it, he probed his spiritual consciousness into it to check. He was immediately disappointed. This second-grade, top-grade spiritual bracelet only had 3 small spaces inside, and each space was not very large, only about 300 square meters. Compared to the spiritual beast bracelet he was using, it was really far inferior. Fortunately, he checked it specifically and did not find any sect marks on this spiritual weapon. He knew that it must have been the unlucky guy from the Yuling sect. He got it from outside and did not exchange it directly at the sect, so he could use it with confidence. Chapter 456, Once you are in the arena, you have no choice. So he planned to give this spirit beast bracelet to Chen Zilia. After all, she was still using the spirit beast bag, and this kind of spirit beast bracelet was not too common. Of course, this thing was a trophy after all, and someone must have known it, so it could not be used for the time being. When I go back, I will ask Hu Yana to help change the appearance of this spiritual weapon, so that there will be no problem. Now there are 3 corpses of demon beasts in this spirit beast bracelet, which should be the natal spirit beasts of the Yuling sect monk. It's a pity that there is no speed-type spirit beast. No wonder they were not released to help when hunting the 3-colored deer. Now their masters have died, and these spirit beasts have been backlashed and all died in the spirit beast bracelet. Lin Changqing got them all out, so he had 3 more demon pills. Then he began to sacrifice the remaining storage bags and spirit beast bags, and poured out the contents. After counting, he harvested more than 2,000 low-grade, more than 700 medium-grade spirit stones, and more than 50 bottles of pills. Among them, the second-level soul-erasing pills accounted for more than 30 bottles. Lin Changqing specially collected them separately. He also needed this kind of pill very much, and the consumption was very large because he often fed it to his own spirit beasts. The rest were more commonly used pills, nothing special. He also harvested 10 spiritual tools, but they were all ordinary, and Lin Changqing didn't like them. In the jade box, he found 15 demon pills and 2 storage bags, which were filled with the corpses of demon beasts. They should have the same plan as Lin Changqing. These demon beast corpses should be prepared to be kept as food for the spirit beasts. After collecting their cracked body jade cards, there was nothing left, just some daily necessities, clothes and other things. There were also a few jade slips, but he was too lazy to look at them now, because there would definitely be nothing good on them. So he simply threw them together with the original ones and slowly dealt with them when he had time. Anyway, he had no interest in looking at them now. He sorted out the things and put them away in different categories. The spirit objects with marks were all left in the inner space. Then he took Liu Yaoqiang, Liu Yaoguang and the others, left the inner space and returned to the maze array. He used the phoenix tail homophonic kite to communicate with Chen Ziya for a while, exchanged the situations they encountered, and ended the call after confirming that both of them were safe. Then Lin Changqing took out the Wunian jade prayer mat and began to practice the Thunder Sutra. Early the next morning, after Lin Changqing had packed everything, he used the Qianji jade pendant to confirm the approximate distance between them. Then he set off immediately. He was very happy that he could reunite with Chen Ziya today. So he released Chu Ai, put on the magic veil, and set off directly after identifying the direction. He had already decided on the itinerary for today. No matter what happened, he would try not to delay time and try not to take action if possible, so as not to affect his plan to reunite with Chen Ziya. However, plans cannot keep up with changes. 3 hours later, he avoided 3 or 4 cultivators and 2 relatively large groups of monsters along the way. But at this time, he actually saw that a male cultivator named Li from the Changsha Peak lineage was being chased by a cultivator from the Yuga sect. The people of the Ghost Control sect were all dressed in black, which made them very easy to identify. He was in a dilemma. If he had known earlier that he would have changed his direction slightly when the warning was issued, he would not have been in such a dilemma. There was no other way now. He was in the martial arts world and could not help himself. He still had to give face to his great-grandmother and several uncles. But if he wanted to rescue him, he must not expose the amethyst scorpion and the fact that he knew thunder magic. If he used ordinary means, he might not be able to deal with it. After thinking about it, these ghost guys finally decided. He would not show up himself, but chase after him and use the thunder horn to hit the Ghost Control sect. He only needed to support the cultivator surnamed Li. He would leave directly, no matter what the result was. He had tried his best to live or die, and the rest was left to the cultivator surnamed Li. After making up his mind, he immediately adjusted the direction. At this time, the 2 people had passed by not far from him, and they had already flown over a distance of more than 1 or 2 miles. Both of them were in the middle stage of the construction period, and their flying speed was still very fast. Lin Changqing was covered with a magic veil, and followed them invisibly. After chasing desperately for 2/4 of an hour, he finally entered the appropriate attack range. Then he no longer hesitated, and directly locked his spiritual sense. With a flip of his hand, the thunder horn appeared in his hand, and 3 Jiangjing divine thunders rushed directly to the Yuga sect monk. The distance between them was more than 300 feet, and the movement of the Jiangjing divine thunder in flight was quite loud, so the 2 people in front were shocked. Especially the Yuga sect monk. He shouted loudly, fortunately leaving him 2 or 3 breaths of reaction time. Then he tried his best to activate the defensive spiritual weapon in his hand, but felt that it was not safe enough, so he quickly wiped his hand on the storage bag and took out another top-grade defensive spiritual weapon. Unfortunately, there was not enough time for him to activate it to the extreme, and the divine thunder was already approaching. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 layers of defensive spiritual talismans on his body, as well as the top-grade defensive spiritual weapon, all exploded, and he fell directly on the flying sword. Fortunately, when he realized that he was attacked, he had already started to lower his height, so falling from a height of more than 10 feet or 2 feet was not fatal. However, unlike what Lin Changqing expected, The cultivator surnamed Li did not stop at all when he saw that he was not attacked. He just rushed out without caring about anything, and obviously had no intention of staying to see what was going on. Lin Changqing himself was speechless, and he immediately gave that person a cross in his heart. Anyway, if he was in danger in the future, Lin Changqing would definitely not pay attention to him again. The cultivator surnamed Li ran away, but the cultivator from the Yuga sect stayed where he was, and took out a defensive talisman and a top-grade defensive spiritual weapon from his storage bag. He also released 5 spirit ghosts and surrounded him. It was obvious that he was on full alert, fearing that he would be attacked again. After searching carefully with his spiritual sense and finding nothing, he said, "That Taoist fellow is here, please come out and see him." Lin Changqing saw that the cultivator named Li had already flown 7 or 8 miles away, so he waited for a while until he flew out of his sight. Chapter 457, Two-Sided Attack. As soon as he thought about it, 36 purple rays of light shot out and rushed towards the monk of the Yuga sect. As soon as he made a move, he was discovered over there. To be exact, 36 purple rays of light were discovered. The monk of the Yuga sect sensed it and was so scared that his scalp was about to explode. He could not deal with 36 second-level spirit insects by himself. So he turned around and fled without hesitation, desperately urging the flying sword, but unfortunately the purple crystal scorpion's flying speed was quite fast. It took about 10 breaths to pull the distance between the two to about 200 feet, and then 36 purple rays of light shot out. The monk of the Yuga sect died directly after uttering a scream that was extremely sharp. The 5 spirit ghosts around him also wailed, and their breath quickly faded, and soon disappeared, leaving only 5 black soul crystals on the spot. Lin Changqing sighed. There was no way, he was not going to continue to take action, but he didn't expect that after saving people, he would stay to clean up the aftermath. Moreover, in the situation just now, he could only continue to attack, because he didn't want to leave any trouble for himself, so attacking again was an inevitable choice. After collecting his spoils, he threw a few more fireballs to clean up the scene, and then he adjusted his direction and continued on his way. He took out the traction jade pendant again, and after sensing it, he knew that he and Chen Zia were now only about 800 miles apart. This made him very excited, and he couldn't help but speed up a little bit, and on this way back, no matter whether he met a cultivator or a monster, he would not stop at all. Finally, after rushing for 2 hours with all his strength, he once again confirmed the distance between each other through the sensing of the traction jade pendant, and found that the two were very close. Lin Changqing was overjoyed and quickly put away the magic veil draped over his body, otherwise he would be invisible all the time and Chen Zia would not be able to find him. The remaining distance was soon reached, and Lin Changqing instructed Chuai to carefully look for Chen Zia's figure. After a while, Chuai fed back Chen Zia's location to him. But when Lin Changqing found Chen Zia, she was chasing 2 cultivators from the Xiangxing sword sect. Moreover, the 2 cultivators who ran away were actually in the late stage of foundation building. One of them should have been injured, and his breath was sometimes high and sometimes low, which was quite strange. Lin Changqing knew that the sword cultivator's sword escape speed was still quite fast, but the cultivator who was not injured was carrying a burden when he ran away. So the speed was not fully increased, and just like that, a strange balance was formed. The 2 sword cultivators were running in front, followed by more than a dozen purple crystal scorpions, and then Chen Zia was chasing them desperately. They were 2 or 3 miles apart from each other. Seeing this situation, what else could be said? Just go straight up. So, Lin Changqing immediately flanked them from the side, and with a thought, 18 purple lights shot out immediately. He was the master of the purple crystal scorpion, so he was not afraid that the purple crystal scorpion would escape from his sight. So the 18 purple crystal scorpions were at full speed and flew towards the 2 cultivators with all their strength. When Chen Zia suddenly saw Lin Changqing, she almost jumped up with joy. Fortunately, she knew that the occasion was not right, so she suppressed her excitement. Now that Lin Changqing was here, she had no one to worry about, so she directly released the restrictions on the 16 purple crystal scorpions chasing in front. With Lin Changqing here, she didn't have to worry that the purple crystal scorpions would run away if they were too far away from his sight. And at this time, she also knew that the 2 cultivators from the Xiangxing sword sect in front of her should not be able to escape, so she didn't chase them anymore. Instead, she adjusted the direction and flew quickly towards Lin Changqing. What Changqing did at this time was similar to what she did. Anyway, There were already 2 groups of purple crystal scorpions chasing them, and Lin Changqing didn't need to do anything, so the first time to meet up with Chen Ziya was the most correct thing to do. But things developed very quickly. As soon as the 2 of them hugged each other, they heard 2 sharp screams. Then everything returned to calm. At this time, Lin Changqing was looking Chen Ziya up and down. He saw that she was in good spirits and had not suffered any injuries. He nodded and asked, "Yeah, what's going on with those 2 Xianxing sword sect monks? How did they get into trouble with you?" Chen Ziya was also looking at him. After confirming that he was fine, he said, "They ambushed me in front. At that time, I was using the Qianji jade pendant to sense the distance between us. I was careless and distracted for a moment, and almost let them succeed. Fortunately, I reacted quickly and blocked their surprise attack. And when they counterattacked, the amethyst scorpion fought back and injured 1 person, but they also saw the existence of the amethyst scorpion. Based on the principle of confidentiality, I will chase them relentlessly. I just don't want them to leak the secret of the amethyst scorpion. Fortunately, you came very timely this time, otherwise I don't know when it would be delayed." Lin Changqing realized that Chen Ziya had encountered such a big danger in just a few days. He couldn't help but shuddered. Fortunately, everything is over now. So he said to her, "Let's go and collect the spoils. And it will be dark soon, we have to find another suitable place to camp." Chen Ziya nodded and agreed, and then the 2 of them rushed to the place where the 2 Xianxing sword sect monks fell. Seeing 2 corpses that looked like sieves, Chen Ziya saw the faces of the 2 people at this time and couldn't help but exclaim, "Huh?" Then he said, "These 2 people look exactly the same. They can't be twin brothers from the same mother. No wonder the one who was not injured just now didn't run away alone, but instead tried his best to carry this injured burden. What a pity." Lin Changqing heard that she actually felt sorry for the enemy, and was really speechless. "I don't know where so many sighs came from, but now is not the time to say these." He moved his mind and let the purple crystal scorpion hit the heads of the 2 corpses. After finishing the knife, he collected all the spiritual objects on them. After that, the 2 of them recalled the purple crystal scorpion and used the fireball spell to deal with the scene. Lin Changqing pulled Chen Ziya away from here. The 2 of them worked in tacit understanding and found a secluded place in the woods, where Chen Ziya set up a second-order Gyeongnaxi formation. Chapter 458, The Power of the Shocking Cicada. Lin Changqing, on the other hand, released all the 1st and 2nd level purple crystal scorpions to form a 3-layer, 3-dimensional defense. The 2 entered the magic circle, and only then did Lin Changqing completely relax. Finally, he reunited with Chen Ziya without any danger. The next task is to try to get more demon pills to see if he can seize the last opportunity. Seeing Chen Ziya leaning on his shoulder, he couldn't help but hug her in his arms, and the 2 stayed quietly for a while. Maybe she had experienced a lot of things in the past few days and needed to share and confide. Chen Ziya couldn't help but began to tell Lin Changqing about her specific experiences in the past few days. And Lin Changqing heard that she had actually suffered an ambush by 4 monks, and her defensive spiritual weapons were almost all broken. This made him very scared. If he had known earlier that the trial secret realm was so dangerous, maybe he would not have let Chen Ziya participate at that time. Of course, this is mainly his problem. He underestimated the strength of the monks here and felt that he had underestimated them. After Chen Ziya finished her story, Lin Changqing also shared with her what he had encountered in the past few days, especially the incident of helping the monk surnamed Li from Changsha Peak. Lin Changqing specifically talked about it. He wanted Chen Ziya to know the character and quality of this person, so that she could be on guard in order to avoid being deceived in the future. Chen Ziya was disappointed when she heard this. However, she did not have a deep relationship with these brothers and sisters. Therefore, she just sighed and remembered it in her heart, and then she stopped thinking about these things. To her, these people were insignificant, and Lin Changqing was the most important person in her heart. So he continued, "Brother Qing. It's only the 4th day now, what are your plans for the future? I've made quite a lot of gains in the past few days, and I've collected almost 30 or 40 demon pills. If I work a little harder, I can collect 40 demon pills. In the future, if there are any extra demon pills, I'll concentrate them with you to see if I can help you get the biggest opportunity." Lin Changqing was quite surprised to hear that she had already collected so many demon pills. Chen Ziya's performance in the secret realm was much better than he had expected. As for what she said about leaving all the extra demon pills with him, it was nothing. Now they were originally one, and it was normal for Chen Ziyi to help him fight for opportunities. Lin Changqing thought for a while before speaking. I also have 50 or 60 demon pills of various levels. Let's share them. 40 per person should be more than enough. And when I came to meet you, I had already seen a sacrificial array. It is relatively close to here. It will take about a day and a half to get there. Otherwise, the two of us should go and get the escape mark first, so as to avoid any major changes in the later stage. What do you think? Chen Ziyi thought it made sense, so she agreed to Lin Changqing's proposal. The two of them took out all the demon pills in their hands. Now both of them are at the second level of foundation building. So each of them needs to use 10 demon pills of the early stage of the second level to exchange for a detachment mark. And in order to get the maximum improvement, that is, from the second level of foundation building to the fifth level of foundation building, 10 demon pills of the early stage of the second level and 20 demon pills of the middle stage of the second level are needed. That is to say, each person needs at least 20 demon pills of the early stage of the second level and 20 demon pills of the middle stage of the second level. Chen Ziyi especially found 2 relatively large jade boxes to hold the prepared demon pills. Each jade box held 40 pills, which was just right. The remaining demon pills were also placed with Lin Changqing. At this time, he took out the top-grade spirit beast bracelet that he had harvested yesterday and gave it to Chen Ziyi. She was very happy to receive the gift. She couldn't help but reward Lin Changqing with a sweet kiss on the spot, and then she started to sacrifice and refine it. After she finished, Lin Changqing specially told her the origin of this thing in detail and suggested that she should not use it for the time being. It would be better to wait until she returned and find someone to change the appearance of the spirit tool. It would not be too late to use it then. After listening to this, Chen Ziyi also felt that it made sense. There was no need to provoke such unnecessary troubles, so she took off the top-grade spirit beast bracelet from her wrist and put it in her arms. Lin Changqing also handed over the nearly 10 identity jade cards he had collected to Chen Ziyi. He kept these things for himself, and they were useless. Only in the hands of Qingyuan sect disciples can they be exchanged for sect contribution points. She accepted them with a smile, and then took out a large number of spiritual tools she had harvested. She gave them to Lin Changqing to choose. After he took a rough look, although there were some medium and high-quality spiritual tools, they were not very attractive to him. So he just took a quick look and put them away. Let's see how to deal with them later. Or give them to Huyana to exchange for spiritual stones. If it doesn't work, you can throw them into the deep pit and let Lin Changqing deal with them. Anyway, they will definitely not be wasted. Suddenly I remembered that there were still 480 Jingshan cicadas in my spirit beast bracelet. I didn't deal with them. In the past 2 days, he didn't feed them anything. So I told Chen Ziyi about this situation, and specially found a first-level Jingshan cicada in it, wanting to show her. Unexpectedly, this little thing cried out as soon as it left the spirit beast bracelet space. Lin Changqing had the Yushin soul shield in his sea of consciousness, but he didn't react. However, the distance was so close, and Chen Ziyi was not prepared at all, so she was directly hit. After a moment of shock, she reacted. But she was overjoyed in her heart. This god-shaking cicada was so powerful when it was in the first stage, so the second stage would be even more amazing. So she couldn't help but say to Lin Changqing, "Brother Qing, release another second stage god-shaking cicada. I want to see how powerful it is." Lin Changqing also wanted to try it, so he nodded and said, "Then you expand the magic circle a little, and then stand 100 feet away from me. Let's try its power." Chen Ziyi immediately did as she was told, controlled the magic circle, adjusted it to the appropriate size, and stood about 100 feet away from Lin Changqing. She deliberately concentrated her mind and focused on the spirit platform, preparing to try the ability of the second stage god-shaking cicada. Lin Changqing threw the first stage one back into the spirit beast bracelet, and selected a second stage one. Sure enough, they were all the same. As soon as he left the spirit beast bracelet space, he immediately screamed desperately. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 459 Feeding Problems. Lin Changqing immediately felt that there was an invisible wave, which was expanding rapidly outward with the second-level shocking cicada as the center. It took only a breath of time to reach Chen Ziya, and then he immediately saw Chen Ziya's shaky appearance. Lin Changqing was shocked, and hurriedly threw the second-level shocking cicada in his hand back into the spirit beast bracelet, and then rushed over to support Chen Ziya. After 3 or 4 breaths, she almost recovered. Without Lin Changqing asking, she said directly, "This kind of soul attack has no precursors. When I heard the sound, I was already hit. I suddenly felt a loss of consciousness and almost couldn't control my body and fell down. This is just one. If there are a group, it is estimated that hundreds of feet in radius will be a dead place." Lin Changqing nodded. He knew this aspect best. After all, when he was in the purple bamboo forest, he saw that there were really no creatures except the shocking cicada. There was really not even a living insect. Because there is no creature that can withstand this kind of continuous soul attack, a shocking cicada may only make people lose consciousness for a few breaths, and it is not fatal. But a group of shocking cicadas can make the monks or spirit beasts who enter their attack range die. After confirming that Chen Ziya was fine, Lin Changqing said, "Should we test it again? See if the distance is farther. Will the effect be different? And we should also test their maximum attack distance, by the way. In this way, we will have a number in mind when using it in the future, so as to avoid any oolong incidents." Chen Ziya listened and agreed very much, so she immediately adjusted the formation to the largest coverage range. Then she ran to a place 150 feet away from Lin Changqing and was alert with full concentration. After Lin Changqing saw that she was ready, he took out a second-level shocking cicada from the spirit beast bracelet. They all looked like birds, and suddenly changed the environment, and were frightened, and they kept screaming when they came out. But this time, although Chen Ziya was still the same, her body was a little lost, and she couldn't control her appearance. However, after about 2 breaths, she returned to normal. It seems that the farther the distance, the weaker the effect of the shocking soul technique. Chen Ziya retreated to about 200 feet, and then Lin Changqing took out the shocking soul cicada again. This time her body was, but it took about a breath. It was completely recovered. As for the farther distance, Lin Changqing felt that there was no need to test it again. He already had an idea in his mind. The effective attack distance of a single second-level shocking soul cicada is about 200 feet. If multiple cicadas are stacked together, the distance should be increased, and the effect should be stronger. However, this cannot be tested for the time being, so Chen Ziya was summoned back. She was very interested in the shocking soul cicada. Holding Lin Changqing's hand, she said with a smile, "Brother Qing, I want some God-shaking cicadas, can you give me some?" Lin Changqing knew this would happen, and couldn't help but said with a smile, "There are hundreds of God-shaking cicadas in my spirit beast bracelet. There is definitely no problem in giving you some. I originally wanted to give them to you and your family for protection. But the problem is that they are all adults. And it is not easy to tame them. It will definitely take a lot of time and slowly train them. It is even possible that there is no way to tame them, let alone contract them. If there is a situation that there is no way to tame them, then we can only wait for them to raise their offspring. At that time, we can get their eggs and contract them without any problem." Chen Ziya was a little disappointed after hearing this. She was still thinking about whether she could contract them as soon as possible, so that in this secret realm, they would have another killer weapon. Unexpectedly, even a cultivator like Lin Changqing, who has the inheritance of insect cultivation, could not contract them. But in the end, she couldn't help but ask, "Can't we force them to sign a contract?" Lin Changqing shook his head and explained, "They are soul-attributed spirit insects. Their soul strength is not much worse than that of cultivators. How can you force them to sign a contract? And the most important problem now is not to contract them, but to solve the problem of their eating first. I caught them 2 or 3 days ago, but there is nothing suitable to feed them. If this goes on, they will definitely starve to death." Chen Ziya hurriedly asked curiously, "What do these God-shocking cicadas mainly eat?" "They mainly feed on the juice of spirit trees and bamboos, or spirit liquid rich in spiritual energy. I found them in a purple bamboo forest. Many first and second level purple bamboos were sucked dry and killed by them, so it is not an easy task to feed them. If you rely solely on buying spirit liquid outside to feed them, it's okay for a short time, but it will be a huge number over a long period of time. This is also the reason why insect cultivators are particularly rare in the world of cultivating immortals, so you must think about it first. Hearing that their food is spiritual liquid in tree sap, Chen Zhiyi also had a headache. It was kind to get a small amount of these things. If they were needed for a long time, it would not be an easy thing. You know, tree sap is almost equivalent to the blood of a spiritual plant. If too much is sucked, the spiritual plant will not be able to survive, so no one is willing to waste the spiritual plant. Therefore, this is a very realistic problem, which is really a headache. At this time, Chen Zhiyi saw that Lin Changqing did not seem to be too anxious. Suddenly, he realized that he might have a solution, so he couldn't help but ask, "Brother Qing, you don't seem to be in a hurry at all. Do you already have a solution? Tell me quickly, don't keep us in suspense." Lin Changqing laughed when he heard this. Chen Zhiyi was quite smart and guessed at once that he already had a solution. So he stopped keeping the secret and said directly, "I think we can go back to the place where we found these cicadas. We can use the existing purple bamboo forest to temporarily solve their food problem. I also have some spiritual plant bags that are specially used to transplant larger spiritual medicines or spiritual plants. We can directly dig up some mature purple bamboo bushes and take them back. Each spiritual plant bag can hold about a dozen purple bamboo bushes, which should not be a problem. When the time comes, these purple bamboo bushes will be planted around your residence, which will solve the food problem of the cicadas. It can also provide them with a place to live, so that they can protect you by the way." Chapter 460 Killing Two Birds with One Stone. Chen Zhiyi was overjoyed when she heard this. It was indeed a very good idea, so she hurriedly said, "That's great. Let's try to set off as early as possible tomorrow. Otherwise, if we delay too long, they will starve to death, which would be bad. And we must dig as many purple bamboos as possible. I can arrange these purple bamboos into a formation, and they will be equivalent to the roll of formation flags. If we add these god-shaking cicadas this time, then even the cultivators in the Purple Mansion period may not be able to break through the formation I set up." Lin Changqing nodded after listening. This is a good idea. He can feel more at ease when he goes out to venture outside in the future. The problem of the god-shaking cicada has come to an end for the time being. Starting tomorrow, they will first look for the sacrificial formation. After getting the question of the escape certificate, they will return to the purple bamboo forest and dig purple bamboo bushes. Fortunately, they are all in the same direction, which is relatively convenient. The next step is the most familiar part for the two people. Lin Changqing took out the spoils he harvested today, a total of 7 or 8 storage bags. Chen Zhiyi smiled and said nothing. She and Lin Changqing had already reached a tacit understanding. They each took one and began to offer sacrifices. The cultivator from the Yuga sect provided 2 storage bags, and the remaining 6 were from the Xiangxing sword sect and the 2 unlucky ones. Each person offered sacrifices to 4 storage bags. Because Lin Changqing's spiritual awareness was stronger, he was a little faster than Chen Zhiyi and completed the task of offering sacrifices. All the things fell to the ground, and then the two began to sort them out by category. In fact, before all disciples of the sect come to participate in the trial, the sect will suggest that they sort out the things in the storage bag. Only the part that will definitely be used is left. As for the secret manuals of the exercises, secret techniques, jade slips, and other unnecessary things, they are all allowed to stay in the sect as much as possible. So there are actually not so many things that need to be sorted out. In just a short while, the two people have sorted out everything. In terms of spirit stones, there are more than 5,000 low-grade spirit stones and only more than 700 medium-grade spirit stones. This is mainly because many of the sword cultivators of the Xiangxing sword sect are basically poor ghosts. If there are spirit stones and resources, they will be used to cultivate their own flying swords. Everyone needs many flying swords. Relatively speaking, the Xiangxing Wanjianjing is also a bottomless pit. In terms of elixirs, 30 or 40 bottles were harvested. The two picked out the elixirs that were suitable for them. Those that were not needed or unknown were put aside. There were more spiritual tools. After counting, there were as many as 45. There were 25 flying swords alone. Most of them were second-level upper-grade spiritual tools, and a small number of second-level top-grade spiritual tools. However, the flying sword spiritual tools of the sword cultivators were all prepared to be used as their natal flying swords in the future. They have already initially condensed their own blood and essence in the flying swords, so even if others get them, They can't play the full power of these flying sword spiritual tools. And it is also very easy for the cultivators of the Xianxing sword sect to identify that these are the flying swords of their disciples, causing unnecessary trouble. Therefore, the two did not choose these flying swords. There are still several yin-attributed spiritual tools left, which are all things of the Yuga sect cultivators. There was no use for the two of them. The remaining dozen spiritual tools were mostly defensive spiritual tools. Lin Changqing and his friends each selected one, and kept two defensive spiritual tools for backup. The rest were put together, and then there were the jade boxes, which were several hundred in number. He had the most of them. If the previous harvests were added, he might have 5,000 or 6,000 jade boxes. However, the main purpose of this secret realm was to kill monsters and obtain monster pills. So they didn't find many spiritual medicines in the jade boxes, only 12 in total, but they found 56 monster pills of various levels, which he collected. There were also some monster corpses and materials, and the rest were daily necessities, clothes and other sundries. The jade slips were taken to Chen Ziya for inspection, and Lin Changqing sorted out the things and put them away. Then, while Chen Ziya was checking the jade slips, Lin Changqing left the magic circle and patrolled outside. After finding a hidden place and confirming that there were no cultivators or monsters around, he went directly into the inner space. This time, he came in with only one purpose, which was to take out all the bags of spiritual plants in the storage room and give some to Chen Ziya to prepare in advance. This way, it would be convenient for them when the time comes. After spending some time dealing with the deer and feeding them with a nurturing pill, he entered the storage room in the yard and searched through it. He found a total of 28 bags of spiritual plants, all of which he took with him. He couldn't stay in the inner space for too long, otherwise Chen Ziya would probably come out to find him. After instructing Su Miniang and Zhao Linyu to take good care of the Nulu Yuan family, he exited the inner space. When he returned to the second-level Gyeonaxi formation, Chen Ziya had already started practicing, and he didn't make a sound to disturb her. On the other side, he took out the Wunian Jade prayer mat and began to practice the Thunder Sutra, waiting for him to finish practicing and pack up. It was already 2 hours later, and Chen Ziya was smiling at him, so there was no need to say anything at this time. He went over and held her in his arms. The two of them were very excited. Needless to say, they started practicing the Yin-Yang Harmony Sutra. This took quite a long time. Because they were separated for a short time, they couldn't help themselves. So when they started practicing, they forgot about time. The next morning, after they had packed up everything and released Chuai, they set off for the sacrificial array that Lin Changqing had found. They took the same flying boat. Lin Changqing took her with him, which saved mana, while Chen Ziya sat opposite him and made him some spiritual tea. In the trial secret realm, they were probably the only ones who could have such leisure. After flying for more than an hour, Lin Changqing received a warning from Chuai, saying that there was a group of more than 10 monsters about 10 miles ahead. Since it was on the way, he didn't plan to take a detour. Anyway, even if they were all second-level monsters, he could eat them. The distance of 10 miles was reached in an instant. When he flew to the front, he saw a group of blue-eyed golden apes. Most of them were second-level monsters, the leading one had reached the peak of the second level, and most of the rest were middle to late second-level monsters, and there were 4 first-level monsters. They occupied a small peach forest, and some of the peach trees were particularly huge. Chapter 461 Injury and Gain. Lin Changqing sensed that they were all second-level spiritual plants. He and Chen Ziya looked at each other and both couldn't help laughing. There was nothing to say in this situation, so they just did it. Especially those huge second-level spiritual peach trees, they must not be wasted. Since they encountered them, they would of course dig them out and put them in the spiritual plant bag. They should be planted in the yard where Chen Ziya lived in the future, and then transplanted back when they returned to the Lin family's land. All the second-level purple crystal scorpions were around the two people, so Lin Changqing immediately moved his mind and sent 72 purple lights to rush towards the group of blue-eyed golden apes hundreds of feet away. At this time, the leader of the golden ape group also discovered them, especially when he saw dozens of purple lights flying towards them. He knew that danger was coming towards them. He immediately roared loudly, obviously wanting to remind all the same kind around him, but only some of the golden apes with higher cultivation reacted. And immediately used the innate spell, and then a layer of light gold and transparent defense shield enveloped them. Then they began to throw whatever they had at hand at Lin Changqing and the others. Apparently, they were also very smart and understood that Lin Changqing and the others were the source of all danger. With the blessing of their giant strength, everything that flew over was really like a cannonball. Fortunately, the distance of several hundred feet gave Lin Changqing some time to react, and he immediately manipulated the flying boat to move. After emergency evasion, after 7 or 8 cannonballs flew over from where they were just now, he quickly manipulated the flying boat to continue to retreat. Anyway, they didn't need to do it themselves. He believed that his purple crystal scorpion could deal with this group of blue-eyed golden apes. Now they just had to ensure their own safety. He didn't expect that this group of blue-eyed golden apes would be so powerful. At this time, the purple crystal scorpions also entered the appropriate attack distance, and dozens of purple light rays shot out. The 4 first-level and several second-level blue-eyed golden apes that didn't react immediately suffered. After several sharp and continuous screams, 7 or 8 green-eyed golden apes fell from the spiritual peach tree and soon died. The remaining 8, including the leader, were already moving flexibly on the spiritual peach tree. Obviously, they had a lot of experience in fighting enemies and knew that they could not stand still and had to move. Soon, they dug out a handful of stones from somewhere and threw them at the purple crystal scorpion group. Each second-level green-eyed golden ape threw at least 20 stones, and they gathered into dense mass at once. Lin Changqing could hear the sound of a large number of whoosh, 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 of stones flying at high speed from a distance. Although the purple crystal scorpion group reacted very quickly and dispersed immediately, 4 or 5 purple crystal scorpions were still hit and flew 7 or 8 feet away and fell to the ground. Lin Changqing and Chen Zhi were both worried about the injuries of the purple crystal scorpions. However, the attack of these green-eyed golden apes also annoyed all the purple crystal scorpions. They immediately scattered and flew around those green-eyed golden apes at high speed and disorder. Then the purple light rays shot towards them. After a series of sharp screams, all the green-eyed golden apes fell from the spiritual peach tree. At this time, it was finally over. But Lin Changqing was worried that there were still green-eyed golden apes that were not dead in the peach forest, so he let the purple crystal scorpions fly in and finish them off one by one. Then they hurried down and found the 5 purple crystal scorpions that were hit. They found that their conditions were neither good nor bad. They were indeed all injured. You can see that there are some cracks on the purple crystal armor on their bodies where they were hit, but fortunately they are not too big. And maybe because of the huge force, their spirits are not very good, and they are all lazy and don't move much. The most important thing is that one of them is more serious, and the cracks where it was hit are more serious. Some purple liquid flowed out, and it lay in Lin Changqing's hand, motionless. If it weren't for the contract with it, Lin Changqing would have doubted whether this unlucky little friend was dead. Seeing this, both of them frowned, especially Lin Changqing. He had raised all these purple crystal scorpions since they were young. He invested a lot of effort and resources. They were his most precious and trusted spiritual pets, just like his children. Now this one was so seriously injured, he was really distressed, and quickly took out some of the jade treatment pills and holy lotus pills in his hands. He fed them to several injured purple crystal scorpions and put them all into the spiritual beast bracelet space where Lu Yaoqiang and Lu Yaoguang were, asking them to quickly perform the Yang Wei technique to help heal. Lin Changqing's attention was always there, until the purple crystal scorpion that was the most seriously injured stopped leaking purple liquid. He was a little relieved. However, he still communicated with Lu Yaoqiang and asked him to watch it more. After a period of time, he would cast a Yang Wei technique on it until its breath stabilized. At this time, Chen Zhi asked with concern, "Brother Qing, how are they? Especially the bleeding purple crystal scorpion, will it be okay?" Lin Changqing shook his head and said, "The others should be fine. Rest for a while, and then swallow some spirit crystals, and the cracks should be repaired slowly. But the bleeding one may not be so simple. After taking the elixir, although it has stopped bleeding, it is estimated that it will not be so easy to recover. However, there is no better way at this time. Let them rest in the spirit beast bracelet first, and wait until the evening to see if there are any changes in it, and whether it will be better." Chen Zhi nodded, and then continued, "Then let's deal with the bodies of these green-eyed golden apes quickly. And at least these 5 second-level spirit peach trees must be dug out and transplanted into the spirit plant bag first." Lin Changqing nodded, and then the two divided the work and cooperated. Chen Zhi went to dig out the demon pills of the green-eyed golden ape, and collect some blood essence, and finally put away the bodies, without any intention of wasting. Lin Changqing dug up the second-level spiritual peach trees. He wanted to preserve all the roots as much as possible, so that they would be easier to transplant and survive. There were 5 spiritual trees in total, all of which were lush and well-developed with roots. This was a relatively large project. However, Lin Changqing was quite experienced in transplanting spiritual plants and was fully capable of doing this job. Chapter 462 Bold Speculation. After Chen Ziyi dealt with all the bodies of the blue-eyed golden apes, Lin Changqing dug up the third spiritual peach tree. Seeing that Chen Ziyi wanted to come over to help, he immediately stopped her and asked her to go to the peach forest to find out if there were any ripe spiritual peaches. Pick them all. Although there is no way to dig up all the spiritual peach trees, the first-level spiritual peaches are also good things. Although they are not of much use to the two of them, they can be taken out to satisfy their cravings at ordinary times. And if they are used to entertain relatives and friends, it is also a very good choice. He even plans to try to squeeze them into juice to see if the startled cicada eats them. This is also a good attempt, which can be regarded as making the best use of everything. While Chen Ziyi went to the peach forest to pick spiritual peaches, Lin Changqing immediately sped up the speed and not only dug up 5 second-level spiritual peach trees. He also found 5 more lush first-level spiritual peach trees growing in a relatively marginal position. He secretly dug them out and planned to transplant these few into the inner space to enrich the species in the inner space. After doing all this, Lin Changqing felt a little strange. Why didn't Chen Ziyi come back yet? He was worried that something might have gone wrong, so he couldn't help but enter the peach forest again and search for her. With the help of the sensing of the Qianji jade pendant, he found Chen Ziyi without much effort. At this time, she was happily collecting some light red liquid under a huge tree stump. When she saw Lin Changqing, she greeted him happily, "Brother Qing. Come over here and see what good stuff I found." As soon as Lin Changqing approached, he smelled a faint smell of alcohol. His heart moved, and he asked in surprise, "These things, can't they be the famous monkey wine? Could it be that the green-eyed golden ape can also make wine?" Chen Ziyi said proudly, "Yes. I'm sure these are monkey wine. I have tried it and confirmed it. And these should be second-level spiritual wines. Most of those green-eyed golden apes can be promoted to the second level. These monkey wines should have contributed greatly. And I feel that those green-eyed golden apes are very smart, so it's not surprising that they can make wine." Lin Changqing nodded. In fact, he didn't care whether the green-eyed golden ape could make wine or not. As long as the things were in their hands, it didn't matter who brewed it. He scanned it with his spiritual sense. Under the huge tree stump, there was a tree hole of about 10 square meters. There was another big pit in the tree hole. Various spiritual fruits were piled in the pit to ferment. It can be seen that this is indeed a very simple winemaking pit. But I don't know why, such a simple environment can brew the very famous monkey wine. Chen Ziyi was carefully collecting monkey wine, and Lin Changqing didn't bother her. He was looking at this huge tree stump. It's not quite correct to say it's a tree stump. To be precise, it should be a petrified tree stump. The traces of annual rings on it are still very clear. He confirmed that this tree stump was indeed a spiritual plant, but the individual was too large. Lin Changqing roughly gestured and found that it took more than 30 people to hug it completely. I don't know what kind of spiritual plant it is, and it's so huge. If it is still alive, it must be at least hundreds or thousands of feet, or even thousands of feet high. Such a giant is really awe-inspiring. This made Lin Changqing suddenly think of the giant ship that brought them to Zuanian continent to suppress the sea. I don't know what its keel looks like, but it can actually create such a huge thing. Looking at this huge petrified tree stump, Lin Changqing suddenly had an idea. If this thing was alive, it should be at least level 4, or even level 5. Although it looks completely petrified now, there is still some that have not been petrified inside. Maybe he can pick up some high-level spiritual materials. And Chen Ziyi is still collecting monkey wine in the tree hole at this time. Anyway, he is idle, so he might as well give it a try to see if he can find anything good. The more Lin Changqing thought about it, the more it made sense. So he flew to the stump and took out the panlong stick. He felt that the flying sword would not be very effective in this place. A heavy guy must be used to achieve the best effect. At the center, Lin Changqing used all his strength to stab it down. Unexpectedly, only a shallow layer of stone skin was broken off. This confirmed his idea and knew that he was definitely not wrong. Although this thing has been petrified on the outside, there might be something good inside. Aiming at a place, he continued to dig desperately. After about half an hour, Chen Zai had collected all the monkey wine. Lin Changqing had only made a hole 3 feet wide and almost 6 feet deep. He now completely believed in his speculation. Because the deeper it was, the harder it was to dig. At this depth, he could already vaguely feel some spiritual energy emanating. He firmly believed that as long as he continued to dig, he would definitely gain something. So after communicating his idea with Chen Zai, he also gathered support. So Lin Changqing was ready to spend it here. At least he must find out what was inside the tree stump. After more than an hour, he and Chen Zai worked together to expand the hole he dug to 8 feet wide and about 15 feet deep. Finally, with the last push, the hard stone skin collapsed again, revealing a touch of crystal green, and then a breath more powerful than the 4th level spiritual object leaked out. Lin Changqing and Chen Zai were immediately encouraged and immediately increased their efforts to dig. After 2 or 3 hours of hard work, the two of them worked hard. Finally, this thing was dug out completely. This should be a precious tree heart, but now it has completely turned into jade. But it is also a very, very precious 5th level material. This thing is extremely valuable and has many uses. The uses are simply countless. This may be their biggest gain in this trial secret realm. More importantly, this thing is really not small, with a diameter of about 12 feet and a length of 55 feet. In order to dig this thing, both of them were almost exhausted. The further you go, the harder it is to dig. Fortunately, after a lot of effort, the thing is now in the bag. At this time, both of them were very excited. Fortunately, Lin Changqing had experienced a lot and was still very sober. He knew that he couldn't stay here for long and had to leave quickly. Chapter 463, The Reason Why Insect Cultivators Are Rare. So they collected all the stone skins they dug out and filled them back into the deep pit they had just dug. But obviously, these things could not fill the deep pit, so Lin Changqing filled it with some sand. He also planted some weeds and vines and used the Pei Yuan Sheng Sheng technique to camouflage them, making them look more lush and natural. To cover up the traces of their excavation, this step is almost enough. No one should pay attention to a pile of weeds and vines. In this way, no one will discover the secret of this tree stump. The two checked again in the peach forest. After erasing all the traces they left and confirming that there was no problem, the two people drove the spirit boat away. Unexpectedly, they only encountered a group of blue-eyed golden apes and were delayed here. Fortunately, the harvest was really good after such a long time. The two continued to set off in the direction of the sacrificial array. Chui was still above their heads to provide them with early warnings. The two people snuggled together on the spirit boat. Chen Zai was happily sharing her harvest with Lin Changqing. Brother Qing, I collected about 30 to 40 kilograms of monkey wine in the peach forest this time. When we practice at night, we can take some to try the effect. By the way, I also found more than 300 mature first-level spiritual peaches in the peach forest. It's a pity that those second-level spiritual peaches were either eaten by them or thrown in as materials for brewing wine. I didn't find any of them. It's such a pity. However, the first-level spiritual peaches look pretty good. Do you want to try one to taste it? Chen Zai said proudly. After hearing what she said, Lin Changqing smiled and said, 30 to 40 kilograms of second-level spiritual wine can keep you practicing for a long time. Let's try it tonight and see if the effect is as good as Hugo wine. As for the first-level spiritual peaches, I have some ideas. Take out a few first, and I'll try it out to see if there are any surprises. Hearing this, Chen Zai immediately took out 5 first-level spiritual peaches from the storage bag and handed them to Lin Changqing. After he took it, he first took out all the cores, and then used the spirit control technique to crush them all into pulp, and separated a large ball of peach juice. Then he put it into the spirit beast bracelet, the small space where the god-shocking cicada was. Unexpectedly, once the ball of peach juice entered in the space, all the god-shocking cicadas were boiling, and in the blink of an eye, the ball of peach juice was full of god-shocking cicadas. And soon, the ball of peach juice was destroyed, but only a relatively small number of second-level god-shocking cicadas got the peach juice. Most of the rest could only anxiously turn around on the periphery, but they were a step slower and did not squeeze in, so they could only worry. These god-shocking cicadas have not eaten for 4 days. Lin Changqing looked at them and they were still full of energy. They should be hungry for a few days, and there would be no big problem. So after the experiment, They ate the peach juice, and he already had a vague idea in his mind, but it was not too mature for the time being, and he needed to think it over carefully. At this time, Chen Ziya also reacted and knew that Lin Changqing must have used the peach juice to feed the god-shocking cicadas. This was also a question that she was very concerned about. So she couldn't help but ask, "Brother Qing, how is it? Do those little peach juice guys eat it?" Lin Changqing nodded and said proudly, "Eat. Of course they eat it, and they are fighting for it very fiercely. In just a short while, all the peach juice has been eaten up. They are like a group of starving ghosts." Chen Ziya heard that they had eaten up the peach juice and said happily, "Then should we use this method to feed them in the future? It seems that these little guys are not too difficult to raise." Lin Changqing shook his head and sighed. "The problem is not as simple as you think. Just now, the peach juice made from the 5 first-level spiritual peaches was only eaten by about 40 or 50 god-shocking cicadas, and there is a great possibility that they are not full. If you want to feed all of them, 480 god-shocking cicadas will need about 60 or 70 first-level spiritual peaches, which is a lot of consumption. If you do some calculations yourself, you will know that if we calculate that each first-level spiritual peach is worth 8 low-grade spiritual stones, then feeding them once will require about 500 low-grade spiritual stones, and we don't know how many times we need to feed them each month. However, according to my guess, 5 to 6 times a month is definitely the minimum. If it is less, it may affect their growth potential. If you calculate it this way, you may need at least 3,000 spiritual stones each month, which is about 30,000 to 40,000 a year. It may not be a big deal for 1 or 2 years, but what if this period is extended to 10, 20, or even 1 or 200 years? For ordinary cultivators, that is simply a very huge number. Therefore, this is why insect cultivators are very rare in the world of cultivation. Because overall, the cost of feeding them is too high. If you don't have a strong family background, you can't do this. Therefore, my suggestion is that you should not raise too many, just feed them in small quantities. And try to provide them with sufficient resources and give them enough growth potential. I suspect that this is why they are so difficult to succeed every time they shed their shells. It may be related to the quality of the spiritual liquid taken. There is no way to verify this now. We can only keep it in mind and observe it slowly in the future. After listening to this, Chen Ziya couldn't help but nodded. She felt that what Lin Changqing said was very reasonable. The most important thing was that she didn't go out for adventures often. It's useless to raise too many. A small group of them is enough for protection. More is also a big burden for her. So she asked, "Brother Qing, how many do you think I should raise?" After that, he looked at Lin Changqing expectantly. He thought about it for a while before saying, "If it's according to my idea, I think I should raise 48 first. At that time, I will give you 12 second-level ones and 36 first-level ones. With the protection of them and the purple crystal scorpion, I believe that no cultivator of the same level can approach and hurt you casually." After hearing this, Chen Ziya thought about it for a while before saying, "It feels a bit too much. How about giving me 24? Half of the first level and half of the second level will be enough. And there are so many people in the family, you should leave some for them. The most important thing is yourself. If you want to venture out, you must keep enough of them so that you will have enough power." Chapter 464, The Sacred Wutong Tree. When Lin Changqing heard that she only needed 24 cicadas, he couldn't help laughing, and hugged her and said, "Just go with the number I said. You still have to consider the problem of molting. You also know the success rate of their molting, so a lesser number won't do. Besides, I've left some for them at home, so you don't have to worry about it, and it will be 10 years before we go back. Maybe by that time, they will have mated and laid a lot of eggs." Chen Ziya blushed a little when she heard him use the word mating, and she stopped arguing with Lin Changqing about the number, but continued, "We've discussed so much here, and it seems that the problem of taming and contracting them has not been solved yet. Are all these just the two of us fantasizing here, or have you already thought of a way and are sure you can tame them?" Lin Changqing pondered for a moment before saying, "I did have a vague idea in my mind just now, but I don't know if it will work. We'll have to wait a few days to know." Chen Ziya asked curiously, "What do you think? Tell me quickly, why are you keeping it a secret now?" Lin Changqing chuckled and said, "Why are you in such a hurry? I must tell you what I think. My idea is that we should not feed them spiritual liquid first, but just waste time with them. When they can't hold on any longer, We can use high-level spiritual liquid to seduce them and let these little guys voluntarily sign a contract with us. Do you think my idea has any chance of success? Chen Ziya pondered for a moment, and then said, the idea is quite good, and the spirit insects are simple-minded and don't have so many twists and turns. Maybe it will really succeed. But the question is, do we have high-level spiritual liquid now? Lin Changqing did not reveal the question of high-level spiritual liquid casually. After all, the grade of 100 flowers drunk in soul wine was too high. He guessed that it would even work on high-level cultivators. So when you need to use it in the future, you should find a way to cover it up. The fewer people who know the secret, the better. Lin Changqing said with a smile, as for the source of high-level spiritual liquid, we can always find it. At most, we can wait until the end of the trial and buy some from Wanbao Pavilion at a high price. In my opinion, this is not a big problem. If you really can't find it, just spend some spiritual stones to buy it. Chen Ziya nodded. She was quite looking forward to it now. She hoped that Lin Changqing's method would succeed, so that she would have another way to protect the way. In this way, the two flew for more than 2 hours. During this time, they also encountered 2 or 3 waves of monsters. However, they were all small in scale. Basically, there were 2 or 3 second-level monsters wandering around with a few first-level monsters. At first glance, you can tell that they are a family. However, when they met Lin Changqing, they were all gone, and there was basically no possibility of escape. Even in this situation, they didn't need to do anything. Lin Changqing moved his mind, and the purple crystal scorpion basically solved them all. The rest only needed to be responsible for cleaning the battlefield and collecting monster pills and spoils. Moreover, they met monks from other sects twice on the way, but when they saw that Lin Changqing was 2 people, they didn't dare to approach at all and ran away immediately. They reacted quickly and didn't give others a chance to catch up. Of course, if Lin Changqing wanted to touch them, he still had a way, but he was not a bloodthirsty person. So those people who met ran away, and Lin Changqing ignored them and just pretended not to see them, as long as they didn't come to die. When it was almost dark, Lin Changqing found a hidden place as a camp for tonight. Chen Ziya arranged it, the second-level concealment and defense array, and the purple crystal scorpion in Lin Changqing's hand was responsible for the defense and vigilance tasks of the outer periphery. After handling everything outside and activating the array, the 2 people got in. Then they took out the corpses of the second-level monsters they encountered along the way and dealt with them. In addition to the first encounter with the green-eyed golden ape clan, they harvested 22 monster pills and a pile of second-level spiritual materials today. After sorting all the things out, he took out the huge jade wood heart from the spirit beast bracelet. It was really heavy. If Lin Changqing hadn't learned the physical training, it would not be so easy to put it away. The 2 people felt the powerful spiritual pressure emanating from the high-level spiritual objects at close range. Chen Ziya couldn't help but said, I don't know what kind of spiritual wood this is. It can grow so huge. It can't be the legendary Wutong sacred tree, or Tongshan Jianmu. After hearing this, Lin Changqing thought about it for a while before saying, I think it should be neither. The Wutong sacred tree is said to have wood and fire attributes, so the Phoenix clan likes to build nests on the Wutong tree and often stay on it. And our jade wood heart is obviously pure wood attribute, and I don't feel the fire attribute, so it should not be the Wutong sacred tree. As for Tongshan Jianmu, I think that is even more impossible, because if it is the legendary Tongshan Jianmu, it should be 100 times or even 1,000 times larger than that tree stump, otherwise it will not be worthy of the word Tongshan, so the 2 guesses should not be it. Having said that, it is mainly because Lin Changqing was fortunate enough to have seen the mother tree of the Void Tongshan willow, which was really indescribably huge. When he saw it at that time, he was so shocked that even his thoughts stopped, his mind went blank, and he didn't know how long it took him to react. That was the real Tongshan divine tree. Therefore, in his mind, the ones that can be related to the word Tongshan should be at least 1% of the Void Tongshan willow mother tree. If not 1%, then 1,000th, otherwise it would really insult the word Tongshan. So subconsciously, he felt that the stump was definitely not the stump of Tongshan Jianmu. Chen Ziya shook her head and said with emotion, there are really countless types of spiritual objects in the world of cultivating immortals. This thing is definitely not one of the 3 sacred trees, and I don't know what kind of spiritual wood it will be. Lin Changqing couldn't help but reach out and touch the wood heart, and said a little uncertainly, I have a little guess that this is very likely a mutated kindling wood, or Jiuxia wood. But no matter what it was originally, it does not affect the preciousness of this jade wood heart. As soon as Lin Changqing finished speaking, both of them couldn't help laughing. Indeed, the two people did not actually mind that the jade-like wood core turned out to be that kind of spiritual wood. They just needed to know that this precious thing did not belong to them. Chapter 465, Enemies Meet on a Narrow Road. The two spent some time studying it up and down, and after not finding any problems, Lin Changqing put it away again. Then Chen Ziya took out all the monkey wine she had collected and gave most of it to Lin Changqing. He didn't want it at first, but then he thought about it and realized that this thing had a clear origin, so he could take it out and use or exchange it openly, which was a good choice. Besides, this thing was specially collected by Chen Ziya, and she took it out specifically to give it to him. Lin Changqing couldn't let her down and show her kindness to him. So Lin Changqing accepted Chen Ziya's monkey wine without any excuses, which made her very happy. She didn't want to be a burden to Lin Changqing, and she didn't have any big wishes. She never dared to think about ascending to heaven and cultivating to become an immortal. Chen Ziya just wanted to be with Lin Changqing forever and have children for him. Of course, if her cultivation could be higher and the two of them could be together longer, it would be even better. After they each took some monkey wine, they began to practice. After about 2 hours, Lin Changqing finally opened his eyes. He saw that Chen Ziya had finished practicing and was feeding the purple crystal scorpion, which was the part that Lin Changqing put beside her to protect her. He also saw the purple electric marten that he hadn't seen for a long time. It has now reached the middle stage of the first stage. However, it is not very useful now. It is temporarily kept as a pet by Chen Ziya, and he pets it when he has nothing to do. He grabbed the purple electric marten from Chen Ziya's hand and stroked it himself, then asked, "Yair, how do you feel about the effect of those monkey wines?" Chen Ziya smiled and said, "The effect seems to be okay. But there is still no way. Compared with the 100-year-old Zhu fruit wine you gave me, it feels so far away. I just took a dose similar to the usual Zhu fruit wine, and found that it only took about 2 hours to refine them all. Zhu fruit wine takes several days to refine. In comparison, it can be said that one is in heaven and the other is on earth. It seems that it is not worthy of such a big thing as monkey wine. I'm wondering if we are wrong. These are not monkey wines at all, but things made by those blue-eyed golden apes themselves." Lin Changqing nodded when he heard it. He also felt that it was indeed not very good. At least compared with a 100-year-old Zhu fruit, it really couldn't be compared. If you really want to calculate the effect, maybe the big mouthful of monkey wine he took just now is about the same as the spiritual energy contained in a second-level upper-grade Jiling pill. So he also felt that it was a little bit untrue, but it was also possible that they had been using Zhuguo and Zhuguo wine for cultivation. Therefore, it was inevitable that the expectations for monkey wine were a little too high, and finally there would be such a gap. After thinking it through, Lin Changqing said, "Since monkey wine is not as good as we imagined, you should still use Zhuguo wine to cultivate in the future. These monkey wines can be used as supplements. Or take them out and exchange them for spiritual objects with your fellow disciples. Anyway, you can deal with it yourself." Chen Ziya nodded, although a little disappointed, but it was the only way to do it. Lin Changqing checked the spirit beast bracelet again. There were 5 injured purple crystal scorpions, and the other 4 looked basically fine. There were only some cracks on the purple crystal armor on the body, and these could only be recovered later when they gnaw the second-level spirit crystals freely and slowly. The one that was most seriously injured had basically stabilized its breath, and it should not be in danger of life, so Lin Changqing was completely relieved. However, it certainly cannot be released again in a short period of time, so it can only stay in the spirit beast bracelet to recuperate. Next, it is time for the two people to practice their favorite Yin-Yang Harmony Sutra. In this way, several hours have passed. Early the next morning, the two people were refreshed. After spending some time to pack everything up, Lin Changqing set off on the spirit boat. The goal is still the sacrificial formation, and they will try to get there today. Chuai is still hovering over their heads as before. Lin Changqing's current spiritual sense detection range of about 350 feet is about 1 mile, which is far worse than Chuai's warning range. So for a long time in the future, Chuai will be his eyes, and Lin Changqing will be safer with it. However, not long after the two people flew, Chuai sent a warning, which means that there is a cultivator in front, coming in their direction. Lin Changqing is alone, so he is not going to avoid it. Anyway, if the person coming is conspicuous, he will naturally turn around and run away when he sees Lin Changqing and the others. This situation had happened several times yesterday, so Lin Changqing didn't think it was a big deal and just continued flying. After a while, a distant green figure appeared in Lin Changqing's eyes. He was a little surprised that the person who came was actually a male cultivator from the Qingyuan sect. When he got closer, he found that it was actually an old acquaintance. This made Lin Changqing couldn't help laughing, but the person who came was not a friend, but a person who wanted to kill very much on this Hanhe giant ship. That's right, the one who came was the middle-aged cultivator, a person Lin Changqing had endured for several months and often wandered under Lin Changqing's nose. Relying on the cultivation of the late stage of foundation building, he was the one who robbed Lin Changqing's spoils on the morning board at the beginning. And in the following months, he often provoked Lin Changqing, and there was not much space on the deck, so he couldn't avoid it even if he wanted to. So Lin Changqing wanted to chop him into 18 pieces, but he was not a disciple of Qingyuan sect after all, and he boarded this Hanhe giant ship through the Qingman sect. He still had to give Qingyuan sect some face, and he didn't want to cause trouble for his grandmother, so he ignored him and just treated him as a stink bug. However, Lin Changqing was determined that as long as he met him outside, he must let him taste his power. Unexpectedly, he still met him. But at this time, Chen Ziya didn't know that this disciple of Qingyuan sect had a big grudge against Lin Changqing. When he saw the disciples of Qingyuan sect, he had a natural sense of intimacy. In addition, Lin Changqing was by his side, so he was just a little alert and didn't take the initiative. The late foundation building cultivator of Qingyuan sect, named Guo Jiufeng, also saw that Chen Ziya was wearing the clothes of a Qingyuan sect disciple, so he came to test it. Prepare to make some friends and see if everyone can join forces to advance and retreat together. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 466, Vulnerable. After all, in the later period, the disciples of various sects will definitely gather together. Now that they can find more fellow disciples, they will definitely be more secure and safe. Besides, there are only 2 disciples in the early stage of foundation building on the opposite side. He believes in his own strength and can easily control them. Even if they fail to reach an agreement in the end, in the worst case, he will definitely be able to retreat unscathed. Therefore, he flew to the front of Lin Changqing and the other person, about 100 feet away, and then stopped and looked at them carefully. Then he said, I am Guo Jiufeng, a disciple of Chen Shanfang of Qingyuan sect, and Chen Shan's Henrun. I am glad to meet you 2 Taoist friends. Looking at the clothes of this junior sister, she seems to be a disciple of Qingyuan sect. I wonder which peak she belongs to. Why haven't I seen her before? Originally, Lin Changqing just thought about killing the stink bug directly, but suddenly realized that Chen Ziya didn't know that Guo Jiufeng had a grudge against him. It was a bit unreasonable to kill him all of a sudden, so he let him get close, prepared to take it down first, and then explain the cause and effect to Chen Ziya. Because Lin Changqing and the other person both wore hidden spirit masks, Guo Jiufeng did not recognize the male cultivator in front of him as the person he often provoked on this Hanhe giant ship. At this time, Lin Changqing gently pinched Chen Ziya's jade hand, but did not say anything. Then, with a thought, more than 60 purple lights suddenly flew out and divided into 2 parts. Half of them formed an insect shield, protecting Lin Changqing and the other 2 inside. The remaining half surrounded Guo Jiufeng. This scared Guo Jiufeng so much that he almost wanted to take the initiative. Fortunately, his rationality was still there, but he immediately activated a defensive talisman on his body. He also activated a top-grade defensive spiritual weapon in his hand and was ready to take action at any time. Only then did he feel a little relieved. Then he asked again, what do you mean by this? I have no ill intentions. Do you want to take action? I am a late-stage foundation building cultivator. You should think clearly before you take action. Chen Ziya didn't know why Lin Changqing did this at this time, but since he chose to take action, she must support him unconditionally. Although there is a natural intimacy between fellow disciples, it is just like that. Compared with Lin Changqing, it is nothing. In her heart, no matter how many fellow disciples there are, They are not as important as Lin Changqing. Besides, Lin Changqing pinched her just now. There must be something in it that she doesn't know. So Chen Ziya simply didn't say anything. She just watched what Lin Changqing wanted to do and supported him directly. At this time, Lin Changqing said lightly, "You have been surrounded by my second-level spirit insects. I advise you not to move around. Otherwise, you will suffer. If you don't believe it, I can let you see it." After speaking, 3 purple rays suddenly shot out, directly destroying all the defensive measures on Guo Jiufeng. However, at this time, a purple jade pendant on his waist flashed several times in succession, and 3 layers of defense shields appeared in front of him. Lin Changqing had expected it long ago, so 2 more purple rays shot out, breaking the 3 layers of defense shields as much as possible, and the power left by the rays directly hit Guo Jiufeng. Then a sharp and extremely miserable scream spread over several miles, his whole body twitched violently, and then he could no longer control the flying sword under his feet. He fell directly from the flying sword. Now they were 50 or 60 feet above the ground. If they fell directly, they would most likely die if they were not body cultivators. Fortunately, Lin Changqing was prepared. He raised his hand and a long rope of a spiritual weapon flew out, tied Guo Jiufeng up and rolled him back to the flying boat. Tied like this, Lin Changqing didn't believe that he could break free. Unless he was a body cultivator who had achieved success in body cultivation, he would definitely not be able to run away. And at this time, Guo Jiufeng couldn't stand the pain and fainted directly. Chen Ziya couldn't help asking, "Brother Qing, why did you take action against this Qinghai insect cultivator? Did you see something wrong with this person?" Lin Changqing was very proud now. His enemy fell into his hands, and he was in a very good mood. After shaking his head, he explained, "I don't see anything wrong with this person. But I know him. I don't know why this person has been constantly provoking me on the boat, relying on his high cultivation. He robbed my spoils and went against me. Do you think I can't deal with him? If it weren't for the face of Qinghai insect, and it was not convenient to take action on the boat, this kind of stuff would have died 800 times, how could it still be here?" Chen Ziya heard this. This guy actually dared to betray her Taoist partner, and she was so angry that she took out her flying sword and wanted to kill him on the spot. Lin Changqing hurriedly stopped him and explained, "Our main task today is to rush to the vicinity of the sacrificial array. The others are secondary for the time being. Let's keep this person first. It's important to hurry on the road now. When we have time in the evening, we can slowly deal with him. Killing him with one sword now is too easy for him." After hearing what Lin Changqing said, Chen Ziya put away the flying sword. The space on the spirit boat is not very large, so the 2 of them could not leave a captive on the spirit boat. So Lin Changqing searched all the things on Guo Jiufeng, and then threw him into the spirit beast bracelet. After picking up the second-grade high-quality flying sword that Guo Jiufeng had just dropped on the ground, he continued his journey. In this way, he stopped and started. Along the way, he encountered 2 groups of more than a dozen second-grade monsters, all of which were hunted by Lin Changqing. The rest were all cultivators from various factions. The closer to the range of the sacrificial formation, the higher the frequency of encountering cultivators. Some were alone, and some were in groups of 2 or 3. The goal was almost the same, the place where the sacrificial formation was located. When it was almost evening, they had already seen the red light rising into the sky from the sacrificial formation. It was estimated that they would reach there in 1 or 2 hours. But after Lin Changqing arrived here, he did not intend to continue on his way, but found a very hidden place. Let Chen Ziya set up various second-grade formations, including hidden breath, spirit absorption, defense, attack, and various types. After all, even if you think about it, you know that there must be many monks from various sects in this small area. Anyway, if the nearby monks want to get the escape certificate, they must go to the sacrificial array, and there will be more and more people. Chapter 467 White Spider. For the sake of safety, in order for the 2 to have a good rest at night, it is very necessary to arrange these magic arrays. And Lin Changqing also released all the first-level and second-level purple crystal scorpions of the 2 people, forming a relatively large 3-dimensional warning defense circle on the periphery. Anyway, the little guys are very experienced, and Lin Changqing doesn't need to worry too much. After finishing these, the 2 took a short rest and took out the second-level monster corpses they harvested today and dealt with them. The 2 worked together and finished it quickly, but there were not many. In total, they harvested 12 monster pills, and the other materials were also collected in different categories. At this time, Chen Ziya couldn't help but say, "Brother Qing, now we should get that Guo Jiufeng out and clean it up, right?" Today, when he was free on the flying boat, Lin Changqing had already told Chen Ziya in detail about the process of his feud with the Guo Jiufeng. That's why Chen Ziya would always think about it and must clean up that Guo Jiufeng. Of course, Lin Changqing himself also had this intention. If the enemy fell into his hands, what else was he waiting for if he didn't take revenge? So he took Guo Jiufeng out of the spirit beast bracelet. The birdman had completely adapted to it now, and when he was taken out by Lin Changqing, he was completely awake. However, he was tied up with spirit weapon ropes and could not resist at all. As soon as he came out and saw Lin Changqing and the others, he knew that he was definitely doomed this time. The most important thing now was to save his life, so he begged for mercy. "Fellow Taoists, spare my life. I came to see you, and I really didn't have any bad intentions. I just saw that this fellow Taoist was wearing the clothes of a Qinghai insect disciple, so I came here to see if I could join forces with you. I really didn't have any other bad intentions." Hearing what he said, Lin Changqing and the others smiled at each other, and then Lin Changqing took action directly and tore off the hidden spirit mask on his face. He revealed his true face, and then smiled at Guo Jiufeng specifically, so that he could see clearly what Lin Changqing looked like. However, when he saw it clearly, his whole body softened, and his consciousness seemed to fall into an abyss. He had never regretted it as much as he did now. Knowing that there was a high probability that he would not be able to escape this disaster, he regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. If he had not provoked him at that time, there would not be such a thing today. Moreover, he wanted to beg for mercy, but he didn't know how to start, because if it were him, he would not let his enemy go. At this time, Lin Changqing didn't care what he thought. Now was the time to take revenge, so he stopped talking nonsense. With a thought, a first-level purple crystal scorpion on duty outside passed through the layers of magic array and came to Lin Changqing. Then it came directly to the root of Guo Jiufeng's thigh, and the purple crystal needle pierced it fiercely. A scream so sharp that it was enough to pierce the eardrum echoed back and forth in the magic array. The position where the purple crystal needle pierced was very particular, and of course it was also the most vulnerable place for men. It was really too painful. Guo Jiufeng's whole body arched on the ground, forming a bridge, and then fell heavily to the ground, followed by foaming at the mouth and violent convulsions. Fortunately, Lin Changqing and the other two were very experienced and had already blocked their hearing, so it didn't have any effect on them. However, Guo Jiufeng suffered so much and fainted again, so Lin Changqing directly hit him with a water ball technique. Guo Jiufeng woke up again, but his spirit was extremely depressed, but he said, "Let me go. I was wrong before, I shouldn't have provoked you. For the sake of our fellow disciples, please spare my life. I will redeem my own life with an important piece of information. At that time, I can swear a great oath that I will never be your enemy again and will not disclose any information about you. Do you think it's okay?" Unexpectedly, there was such an unexpected gain. Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya looked at each other, and then Lin Changqing asked, "If you have any important news, tell us. If it's useful to us, we can spare your life. After all, you just provoked me, and we don't have any other grudges. Letting you go is no big deal. But you have to weigh it carefully. If it's the kind of dispensable news, don't think we will spare you." Hearing this, Guo Jiufeng hurriedly said, "No. I feel this should be the news you need. It is definitely what you need. If I am not mistaken, those creatures that emitted purple rays and captured me should be a kind of spiritual insect. Then you must be an insect cultivator. The information I have is the location of a kind of spiritual insect, which you should be interested in." After hearing this, Lin Changqing's heart moved, and he couldn't help but ask directly, "You don't want to tell me about the purple bamboo forest and the god-shocking cicada?" Guo Jiufeng was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and said, No. I'm talking about a kind of white spider. I don't know what they are called, but this thing is really powerful. I saw 2 cultivators from the Yuga sect being captured and taken away by them with my own eyes." After hearing this news, Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya finally took it seriously, and they all realized that the white spider that Guo Jiufeng was talking about was definitely not simple. Lin Changqing glanced at him and said, "Tell me more carefully, tell me what happened at that time. If you hide something, you will definitely be the one who is trapped." If you don't believe me, just try it. Guo Jiufeng didn't dare to play any tricks at this time. He said with all his strength, I know. It happened 2 days ago. After I hunted 2 second-level monsters, I left and found a place to rest, because I was alone. So I deliberately found a place with a relatively high position, so that I could observe the surrounding situation at any time. Unexpectedly, it was because of this position that I saw the fate of the 2 Yuga sect monks. When they passed a valley, they should have discovered this kind of spider and planned to hunt them down. But after they released the spirit ghost, they were caught in the spider web soon. I know that there must be something very powerful in that place, and I shouldn't get close to it. But I couldn't help my curiosity and sneaked over to take a look. I only saw a dozen white spiders, wrapping the 2 Yuga sect monks into 2 huge cocoons, and then dragging them into a cave. However, I didn't dare to get close to them, so I just watched from a distance until they all retreated back into their holes. Chapter 468 Screams in the Night. At this time, Chen Ziya couldn't help but ask, what happened later? After Guo Jiufeng glanced at her, he continued, my soul has been reminding me that the valley is very dangerous. So I didn't dare to get too close to take a closer look. After those white spiders entered the cave, I left there. 2 days later, I met you. When Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya heard this, they knew that this kind of white spider should be really extraordinary. Chen Ziya looked at Lin Changqing and asked, Brother Qing, do you know a powerful spider that matches the situation he just described? Lin Changqing actually had a little guess in his heart, but he was still not sure, so he asked Guo Jiufeng again, how big is the white spider you mentioned? Guo Jiufeng said without hesitation, they are about 3 feet wide, 2 feet high, and pure white. They look very beautiful. Lin Changqing took out the part of the insect cultivation heritage and the strange insect list and searched it, but from beginning to end, he didn't find any spider that matched this description. So he took out the spiritual insect list sent by one Bao Pavilion and looked it up. When he turned to the spider part, he found the corresponding description not long after. The white jade soul-devouring spider is a rare social spiritual insect with soul and earth attributes. It has the innate spells of soul-devouring and soul-catching. After capturing the prey, it will wrap them into a cocoon and inject a kind of venom, so that the prey will turn into a pool of liquid in a short time for them to eat. Of course, this kind of spiritual insect also has some shortcomings, that is, it cannot fly, and it is very difficult to break through to the 3rd level. So although they are very powerful, they will only be useful when they are low-priced. When facing the 3rd level monsters or earth cultivators, there is no way. Seeing this, Lin Changqing was very disappointed, and handed the spiritual insect list in his hand directly to Chen Ziya, asking her to check it herself. And he said to Guo Jiufeng, I have found the information of those white spiders you mentioned. But they are not as powerful as you think. The spiders you saw are called white jade soul-eating spiders. The innate magic of this kind of spider spirit insect can be said to be specially restrained, souls, demons, spirits and the like. But the disadvantages are also very obvious. It can't fly and it is difficult to enter the 3rd level. Therefore, it is not very useful for me. So, if you don't have other useful information, I'm sorry, you still have to die. Guo Jiufeng's face turned pale when he heard it, and he begged for mercy desperately. No. Don't kill me. For the sake of my fellow disciples, for the sake of my master being Zhenren Shenshin, please spare my life. And those white jade soul-eating spiders are so powerful. Although their shortcomings are also very obvious, there should be no perfect spirit insects in the world of cultivation, right? Therefore, leaving them should still have a lot of use. Let me take you there to have a look. When you get this kind of white jade soul-eating spider, please spare my life for the sake of my fellow disciples. Lin Changqing didn't comment on what Guo Jiufeng said, and he and Chen Zhenren still had a little grudge. How could he let his disciples go? Besides, he couldn't let the tiger go back to the mountain. At this time, Chen Ziya had also finished reading the introduction of the white jade soul-devouring spider on the spirit insect list. She couldn't help but say to Lin Changqing, Brother Qing, I think we can take some time to take a look. It's only about 2 days away. After we get the escape certificate and dig up enough purple bamboo, if there are no other targets, let's go to the valley he mentioned and take a look. Lin Changqing thought about it and nodded in agreement. Anyway, they needed to hunt monsters everywhere in the secret realm. Going there to hunt monsters is almost the same, and there's nothing wrong with going to that valley to take a look. In this case, let's keep Guo Jiufeng for now, so Lin Changqing knocked him out and threw him back into the spirit beast bracelet. In fact, when Lin Changqing saw that this kind of spirit insect was not included in the strange insect list, he already had a hunch in his heart. I had a feeling that those white spiders would not be that powerful, otherwise they would definitely be included in the list of strange insects. Since they were not included, it proved that they were not powerful enough and were not qualified to be on the list of strange insects. Suddenly, I remembered that there were some things I needed to tell Chen Ziya in advance, so that she would not be unprepared at that time. After organizing his words a little, he said, "Yair. I want to tell you first, no matter what, I don't plan to let Guo Jiufeng go. After he leads us to the valley, I will let him go in to explore the way first. No matter what the result is, I will leave him in the valley. Do you have any objection?" Chen Ziya laughed when she heard it, and said, "Brother Qing. Do you think the experience I went through is fake? I'm not that stupid, and I won't let the tiger go back to the mountain. And I didn't plan to let him go. This kind of person is a disaster. Letting him go back will definitely leave us in big trouble. So, Brother Qing and I have the same idea, that is, we can't let him go." Chen Ziya had such insight, so Lin Changqing was relieved. He didn't need to waste any more words to persuade her. He didn't want to have a disagreement with each other over dealing with a stink bug. So he took out all the storage bags searched from Guo Jiufeng and sacrificed them with Chen Ziya. There were 3 storage bags in total. Lin Changqing was quite fast, he sacrificed 2, and then dumped all the things on the ground. I won't talk about the spiritual stones, elixirs, spiritual tools, sundries, etc., because the things are almost the same, so I won't repeat them. The most important thing is that in a jade box, 13 second-order mid to late demon pills were found. Guo Jiufeng is in the late stage of foundation building, so only the second-order late demon pills are useful to him. So there are no second-order early demon pills here, probably because he doesn't like them and doesn't waste time hunting them. But this has nothing to do with them. Lin Changqing put all the demon pills he harvested together, including all the things that the 2 people had sorted out by categories, and collected them all. Then they started to practice separately, and when the time was about the same, they started to practice the Yin-Yang Harmony Sutra together. This is what the 2 people like to do most, so they spend a lot of time on it every time. But tonight is destined to be an unpeaceful night. In the middle of the night, outside their camp, a sharp scream suddenly broke the tranquility around them. Chapter 469, Territory. Then there was the second and third sound, and then there was no sound anymore. At this time, both of them were disturbed. They could only hastily end this double cultivation, but did not go out to check immediately. Lin Changqing did not know whether it was one person or a group of people. So he did not act rashly, but the 3 consecutive screams just now sounded like the voice of the same person. But he could not be sure that only one person had come here, and the screams were so far away that it was hard to guarantee that no one would come to check. Therefore, he decided not to go out for the time being, and stayed in the several layers of magic array to wait and see what would happen. He also told the purple crystal scorpion not to act for the time being if it found an enemy. Feed back the information to Lin Changqing first, and then he would decide whether to take action. After waiting for a long time, the surroundings were quiet and there was no movement. Lin Changqing felt that this was not a solution, so he ordered some second-level purple crystal scorpions to start expanding the search outward. The alert range was expanded to a radius of 5 miles. Within this range, all the purple crystal scorpions swept back and forth, but did not find any trace of the enemy. Lin Changqing was really sure that there was only one person coming, so he left the magic circle and went to the unlucky guy who was stung to death by the purple crystal scorpion. After putting his body into the magic circle, Chen Ziya took a look and recognized his origin at once. She couldn't help but say, "Isn't this a disciple of Wu Wei sect? How did he get here?" "He didn't come to cause trouble." Lin Changqing shook his head. He didn't know what was going on, but after thinking about it, he still said, "This person didn't rest at night and ran around everywhere. He should have something to rely on." But his luck was too bad. He actually broke into the defense circle of the purple crystal scorpion. It was bad luck. I guess he died in an unclear way. Hearing Lin Changqing say this, Chen Ziya couldn't help laughing, and then she started to search out all the things on the unlucky guy. There were 2 storage bags and 2 spiritual tools, and these 2 spiritual tools were not ordinary things. One of them was a green wooden hairpin, and the other was a golden compass, which was densely engraved with a lot of runes. However, Lin Changqing couldn't understand what they were for, but he felt that Chen Ziya might know, so he gave the things to her directly. After Chen Ziya took it, she fiddled with it for a while before explaining, "Brother Qing, this thing should be a special land-breaking tool for geomancers. Its main function is to find spiritual veins or spiritual mines. It seems that the dead man should be a second-level geomancer. What a pity that such a talent died here inexplicably. If we control him, we can let him find spiritual veins or spiritual mines for us. I have also learned a little bit of geomancer skills. This second-level land-breaking tool is useful to me, so it belongs to me," Lin Changqing said with a smile. "Take it. The thing is yours. When you have time in the future, you can study it more and see if you can find spiritual veins or spiritual mines for us." Chen Ziya shook his head and said, "That's not that easy. I only know a little bit of the basics and have learned a few spells of geomancers. In fact, I don't have a deep understanding of their entire system. If I want to find spiritual veins or spiritual mines, I still need to spend a lot of time to study and research. But if I have time in the future, I will learn it. After all, it would be a waste if I don't learn how to solve the land-breaking skill." Lin Changqing nodded and said, "Okay. But you still have to focus on cultivation and formations, and just pay a little attention to the Earth Master." After that, he picked up the green wooden hairpin again, sensed it, and found that it was a second-grade high-grade spiritual weapon. But it felt strange. If you didn't sense it specifically, your spiritual sense would scan it, just like an ordinary object. Lin Changqing knew that this might not be an ordinary spiritual weapon. So he directly sacrificed and refined it, because its previous owner had died, and the mark left in it had almost dissipated. So the sacrifice and refinement process was relatively smooth. In a short while, he left his mark in the spiritual weapon. And he also knew the function of this spiritual weapon. It was not a defensive spiritual weapon as Lin Changqing guessed. It was a spiritual weapon made of the heart of the breathless wood, specially used to hide its own breath, and its name was the breathless hairpin. This was also the reason why the disciple of the Wu Wei sect dared to run around at night, thinking that it was pitch black at night and he could hide his breath. Other cultivators or monsters could not find him, so he chose to come out at night and search for treasures recklessly. However, this man's luck was too bad. He ran into the defense circle of the amethyst scorpion. The amethyst scorpion was not only able to hide its breath and become invisible, but also could break the breath and break the invisibility. If he had not met Lin Changqing today, others might really have no way to deal with this cultivator from the Wu Wei sect. After understanding the whole story, Lin Changqing was a little disappointed. This thing could only hide the breath, and it couldn't even be invisible. It had to be used together with the invisibility talisman to be perfect. Although this was also a very practical spiritual tool, it didn't work for him. The magic weapon King in his hand was many times more powerful than this, so he simply erased a mark he left on the Wu Wei hairpin. Then he handed it to Chen Ziya and explained, "Here. This is a spiritual tool that can hide your breath, called the breathless hairpin. But it has no effect on me, so it belongs to you. You can use it to refine it while you have time." Chen Ziya hesitated for a moment, but still took it. This thing was worn on the hair of the corpse just now. To be honest, she still disliked it. But she knew that this was Lin Changqing's intention. Besides, Lin Changqing had already refined it just now, so it was also Lin Changqing's spiritual tool. So she reluctantly took it, but she also made up her mind that she would not take it out casually unless it was absolutely necessary, let alone wear it on her head. Nodding, she began to refine it, and Lin Changqing began to refine the 2 storage bags. Spirit stones, elixirs, spiritual tools, spiritual objects, these things, if they were not too special, he would just take a look. Finally, in a jade box, 15 demon pills were found, most of which were in the early and middle stages of the second stage, and only one was in the late stage of the second stage. Lin Changqing put all the demon pills he had harvested together, and also harvested hundreds of mature first and second level spiritual medicines. Chapter 470 Tips from the Unlucky Guy. These should be the harvest of that unlucky guy who ran around during this period of time, but now they belong to Lin Changqing. At this time, Chen Ziya also completed the sacrifice of the breathless hairpin. Lin Changqing asked her to look at the spoils on the ground to see if there was anything suitable. Chen Ziya flipped through them and found nothing that caught her eye. After shaking her head, Lin Changqing put the things away in different categories. In the end, Only the body of the unlucky guy was left. However, he was not going to deal with it in the magic circle, otherwise he would feel uncomfortable. So he found an empty storage bag, put it away, and waited to find a suitable place to deal with it tomorrow. However, this unlucky guy also reminded Lin Changqing that they were originally planning to go to the sacrifice magic circle tomorrow. He knew that there must be many monks nearby, looking for suitable targets to attack, and he was ready to force his way in. But now he found that they could actually circumvent this problem temporarily, and they just needed to go there now. Lin Changqing thought for a moment, and said to Chen Ziya proudly, "Yeah. You collect all these magic arrays, and we will go to the sacrificial magic array now." Chen Ziya hesitated when she heard it, and couldn't help but said, "I guess the monsters should have run away with this remaining distance. But there must be a lot of cultivators nearby. I'm afraid that we will break into other people's camps like that cultivator from Wu Wei sect, which will be troublesome." Lin Changqing said with a smile, "No. I have a magic level veil that can make you invisible. I will take you with me on my sword. Then we will be covered with magic veils and protected by the night. We will definitely be able to touch the sacrificial magic array quietly, which will save us a lot of trouble. When we get rid of the mark, it will be up to us to decide whether to fight or leave. You quickly start to collect the magic array, and we will set off now." After hearing what he said, Chen Ziya could only nod, and then immediately began to collect the array plate, while Lin Changqing summoned back all the purple crystal scorpions. He put the first level amethyst scorpion into the spirit beast bracelet, and the remaining second level amethyst scorpion ran to the shoulders and backs of the two people. After Chen Ziya finished, Lin Changqing immediately took her on his sword and flew towards the direction of the red light column. The two people were covered with magic veils and flew silently, without alarming the monks who were hiding below. The red light column emitted by the sacrificial array was more eye-catching and obvious at night, guiding them in the direction. The two people flew for more than an hour and finally arrived at the place where the array was located. Lin Changqing did not land immediately, but patrolled around the sacrificial array for a long time, and immediately had an idea in his mind. The sacrificial array occupies a large area, which is about 300 feet in size. The location is relatively balanced in the surrounding 10 miles. He went around and, with the help of Chen Ziya, he quickly found 3 places that were suspected to be hidden arrays, but all of them were 1 or 2 miles away from the sacrificial array. So after Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya discussed it, they decided to simply ignore them. If they didn't come out to stop them, they would just pretend they didn't know. If they dared to come out to mess with them, they would naturally not be polite to them, and of course they would send them on their way. After confirming that Chen Ziya was ready, Lin Changqing landed directly on the edge of the sacrificial array. There was no way to fly directly into the sacrificial array, and there was no way to be invisible inside, so the two of them landed here. Then Chen Ziya rushed into the sacrificial array as soon as possible, and Lin Changqing collected the magic veil and followed behind to protect her. Chen Ziya had to go to the sacrificial column in the center of the array and leave a mana mark belonging to her. Then put the demon pill into the sacrificial plate on the sacrificial column, and it didn't take long. Chen Ziya needed to put in 40 demon pills, which she had prepared early in the morning. After putting in the first 10, the sacrificial array would automatically gather a detachment mark on her arm through the mana mark she left. The remaining 30 demon pills were used to improve her cultivation, but they would only give her feedback when she left the trial secret realm. Of course, if she died in the secret realm, she would have nothing, and there would be no feedback on her cultivation. She would lose everything to the trial secret realm. At the beginning, it was very smooth. Chen Ziya directly pressed the prepared mana mark on the sacrificial pillar. After about 3 breaths, the sacrificial pillar flashed with spiritual light, and immediately had a vague connection with Chen Ziya. Then she did not dare to delay, and immediately put 10 second-level early demon pills into the sacrificial plate. Soon, the spiritual energy in the 10 demon pills was completely absorbed by the sacrificial magic circle, and then the sacrificial pillar emitted a little red light, forming a strange red mark on Chen Ziya's hand. But both of them had read the information given by Qingyuan sect and knew that this was the mark of leaving. When Chen Ziya was about to continue to put in demon pills, 6 cultivators rushed out from the 2 places they had just discovered that were suspected to be hidden magic circles. They formed a 2-sided attack formation and rushed towards the 2 of them. Lin Changqing glanced at them and said directly, "You don't have to pay attention to them. It's important to complete your task first. As for these people, just leave them to me. There won't be any problems, Chen Ziya nodded, and did not dare to delay time. She quickly threw 10 more demon pills in. Lin Changqing's mind moved, and all the second-level purple crystal scorpions on the two people flew up. Among them, 48 purple crystal scorpions were divided into two directions, turning into purple light and rushing out. Lin Changqing assigned 8 second-level purple crystal scorpions to each enemy. The remaining 20 or so formed insect shields and rotated around the two people's bodies. On the other side, the distance of 1 or 2 miles was reached in an instant. Lin Changqing flattered the principle of striking first. So the purple crystal scorpion directly fired purple light rays when it just entered the range. After a burst of purple light, 3 extremely sharp screams came in succession, and then 3 figures fell from the flying sword. Bang, 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 3 consecutive sounds, and the remaining 3 monks were almost scared to death. Although the purple crystal scorpion attacked at about 300 feet, the power of the purple light ray was greatly reduced. But it also broke through 4 or 5 layers of defense on the 3 people, and the remaining defense layers were definitely not enough to withstand the next round of attacks. Even the top-grade spiritual weapons they were wearing, which could defend themselves, had been activated. Chapter 471, Escape. So the remaining 3 monks all reacted in the same way, turning around and running back. One of them even plunged into the ground and disappeared immediately. They must have understood that the situation was extremely dangerous, so they used the earth-walking technique without hesitation to escape. The remaining 2 monks also used various means. After one of them attached a spiritual talisman to himself, his escape speed immediately increased by more than 2 or 3 times. He quickly pulled away from the purple crystal scorpion by several hundred feet, and did not give them any chance to fire purple light rays. Just like that, not long after, the whole person disappeared from Lin Changqing's sight. The other monk was even more extreme, and directly activated a Jade talisman with a flashing lightning. With a loud boom, the whole person turned into a thunderbolt. And a bright lightning flashed in the night sky, quickly falling towards dozens of miles away, and escaped in an instant. Seeing this situation, Lin Changqing couldn't help but frown. He made a mistake. He should have waited until the distance between the two sides was closer before letting the purple crystal scorpion take action. The distance of more than 300 feet is still too far. The power of the purple light ray has weakened a lot. About 200 feet is the most suitable distance for attack. What a mistake. It should be yesterday, seeing those purple crystal scorpions injured, which affected his judgment. He just thought in his heart that he should strike first. To avoid those little guys from getting injured again accidentally, now 3 of them have escaped, which is a little troublesome. Lin Changqing's mentality moved, and he summoned all the chasing purple crystal scorpions back, and let them cruise around the periphery of the sacrifice array. And intentionally or unintentionally, he also surrounded the last place suspected to be the soul gathering array, so as not to be disturbed by some ignorant monks later. Of course, how to deal with the possible people inside will have to wait for the 2 of them, and then see the specific situation after they are done. Fortunately, although there were 3 monks just now, they escaped because of the long distance. But it is estimated that they themselves did not see clearly what the purple light attacking them was. So Lin Changqing was not too worried that the secret of the purple crystal scorpion would be leaked. At this time, Chen Ziya finally finished the task at hand. After throwing 30 demon pills, 3 small runes appeared next to the escape mark on her hand. Lin Changqing and the others didn't know the specific meaning, but it didn't prevent them from knowing that Chen Ziya had successfully achieved the purpose of coming in for the trial. As long as the time is up and she can successfully escape from the trial secret realm, she will naturally get feedback from the secret realm. Seeing that Chen Ziya had finally finished, Lin Changqing could not help but ask, "How was it? Did you feel uncomfortable? Did you feel anything special?" Chen Ziya shook her head and said, "Everything was fine, nothing special. I just felt a little warm on the back of my hand, and then it was over. I saw 6 monks rushing towards us just now, but there were only 3 corpses around. Did 3 monks escape? In this case, will there be any bad impact on us?" Lin Changqing knew that what she wanted to ask was whether the news about the amethyst scorpion had leaked out, and he quickly spoke to comfort her. "It shouldn't have any impact. The little guys are all flying at high speed, and they look like purple rays of light on the outside. Who knows what's inside? They didn't let others see their true bodies, so of course, those who ran away would definitely guess. But it's probably not that easy to guess the details of the amethyst scorpion based on this brief impression and some of its characteristics. Besides, after we get things done, we'll look around to see if we can find and deal with all those who ran away. After Lin Changqing said this, Chen Ziya was a little relieved, so she continued, then you should start quickly. I will go and see if the 3 dead monks still have demon pills on them. If so, I will bring them to you. Lin Changqing nodded, and then ordered, then you should pay attention to safety and don't go too far. There may be many monks with ulterior motives around, so you must be careful. And when you get close to those 3 people, remember to make up your knife in advance, so as not to capsize in the gutter. Chen Ziya nodded, without saying anything, holding a second-level high-quality defensive spiritual weapon in his hand, and walked towards the 3 corpses not far away outside the sacrificial formation. At this time, Lin Changqing directly condensed a mana mark in his palm, and then pressed it on the sacrificial spirit pillar. After they had a sense of each other, he invested 10 second-level early demon pills. Sure enough, after a few breaths, the sacrificial spirit pillar emitted a little red light and fell on the back of his hand. Except for feeling a little heat on the back of his hand, there was no other discomfort. After looking around and finding nothing wrong, he began to throw demon pills into the sacrificial plate. First, he put the 30 demon pills he had prepared. After confirming that there were 3 more small runes on his arm, he poured all the demon pills he had collected into the sacrificial plate. Lin Changqing did not count how many demon pills there were. Anyway, he threw in all the demon pills he had. It is estimated that there are about 100 demon pills. At this time, the sacrificial array was fully extracting the spiritual energy in the demon pills. After it was completed, a flash of golden light fell on the back of Lin Changqing's hand and disappeared. But he looked around and couldn't find any difference. Suddenly, he had an idea. It felt that not showing the golden light on the back of the hand should be a kind of protection for the disciples who participated in the final opportunity. After all, the disciples who have the confidence to participate in the final opportunity should be the better ones in the sect. If the information of their participation in the final opportunity was leaked because of a mark, and they were besieged or targeted, it would be a total loss. It also lost the meaning of training disciples, so Lin Changqing suddenly realized why the golden light did not appear on the back of his hand. At this time, Chen Ziya came over with a bunch of storage bags in her hands. When she came to him, she couldn't help but said, those 6 people should have ambushed a lot of monks who came here in the past few days. 15 storage bags were found on the 3 of them. It's really damn it, Lin Changqing nodded. He didn't find it strange that Chen Ziya could find so many storage bags. Instead, he felt something was wrong without these things. Chapter 472, Dark Night Pursuit. Otherwise, why would others squat here? Aren't they specifically hunting monks who come here to exchange for the certificate of separation? Only these people obviously have a lot of demon pills, and setting up an ambush here is definitely the most time-saving and labor-saving method. If it were Lin Changqing, if he wanted to do such a bad thing, he would definitely use this method. So he said to Chen Ziya, those people really deserve to die. But now is not the time to discuss this. Let's get started first and refine these storage bags. Ignore other things for now. Find the various demon pills in sight and give them to me first. Chen Ziya also knew that time was precious now, so she nodded, and then the 2 began to refine all the storage bags. And took out all the demon pills they found and put them together. Lin Changqing counted them this time and found a total of 62. This made him frown. This number was much less than he expected. Chen Ziya knew what he was thinking when she saw his expression, so she explained, on the back of the hands of the 3 corpses, each of them has a detachment mark and 3 small runes. These demon pills should be what they have left. Lin Changqing nodded. He knew that what Chen Ziya said made a lot of sense, so he accepted this reality and poured all the demon pills he had just obtained into the sacrificial spirit plate. When a little golden light fell on the back of his hand and disappeared, he knew that it was done. However, there's still a suspicious place here. They must check it out to see if Chen Ziya has found the right place. So he thought about it, and the 48 second-level purple crystal scorpions that were cruising around the periphery of the sacrificial magic circle immediately rushed over and surrounded the place designated by Lin Changqing. This was very sudden, and it scared the 2 monks hiding inside half to death, but at this time, they also confirmed that they must have been exposed. They did not dare to have any luck in their hearts, and immediately followed the countermeasures they had just discussed, before Lin Changqing and the others came over. They rushed out from two directions of the Naxi magic circle, and each of them had several defensive talismans and 3 or 4 defensive magic tools on their bodies. The most important thing is that both of them held red jade talismans with a gleaming aura in their hands, which seemed to be used for desperate or escaping. Obviously, they had already thought of a way, that is, to desperately improve their defense capabilities, and after a round of attacks, they would have a chance. Unfortunately, as soon as they emerged, each of them was attacked by more than 20 purple rays. All kinds of defensive measures on their bodies were broken at once, leaving them no time to activate the red jade talismans in their hands. After 2 extremely sharp screams, they fell straight to the ground, and both of them were almost shot into sieves. At this time, they had just left the Naxi magic circle, and they were less than 3 feet away, which shows how clean and neat their death was. When Lin Changqing and the other person approached, they found that these 2 people were disciples of the Yuga sect. Lin Changqing was afraid that they were not dead yet, so he let the purple crystal scorpion hit them both on the head a few more times. The consequence of this was that the scene was rather disgusting, and it looked red and white. But he still felt that safety was the most important thing. Then he went up and collected all the spoils in person. He also took a special look and found that the backs of the hands of the 2 corpses also had the same detachment mark and 3 small runes. He also took out the red jade talismans held in the hands of the 2 people and gave one to Chen Ziya. After studying it for a while, the 2 people both felt that this should be a jade talisman used to escape. In fact, they had found similar things in the storage bags of other monks a few days ago. However, they were all classified as miscellaneous items by the 2 of them and did not receive much attention. It seems that they should find a time to carefully study the things they have harvested, especially those things whose functions are unclear. At this time, Chen Ziya suddenly had an idea and said, "Brother Qing, do you think these 2 red jade talismans are the blood escape jade talismans that the evil sects prefer to use?" Lin Changqing couldn't help but nodded when he heard it. He felt that this was really possible. The monks of the Yuga sect like to deal with the ghosts and things like blood in essence. So he said to Chen Ziya, "I feel that this should be it. We will know if we try it when we have time. By the way, there are 3 breathing arrays nearby. Do you want to get the array plates out?" Chen Ziya hesitated for a moment, but still nodded, and then began to cast a series of spells towards the breathing array. Lin Changqing began to take action and used the fireball technique to deal with the several corpses present. Including the corpse of the Wu Wei sect disciple in the storage bag, he also dealt with it together. After a while, after Chen Ziya collected all 3 array plates, Lin Changqing said with a smile, "Yeah. Should we try to see if we can track down the people who just escaped?" Chen Ziya was a little surprised when she heard this and asked, "Brother Qing, do you know how to track secret techniques?" Lin Changqing said with a smile, "Of course I don't know how to track secret techniques. I won't talk about a cultivator who used the earth-walking technique to escape, because I don't know which direction he will run. However, there were 2 people just now, and they seemed to be in the same group. They ran in similar directions, one to the west and the other to the southwest. It's late at night now, and it's estimated that they won't run too far. Then we will go to the southwest and try to find them within 100 or 200 miles. If we still can't find them after exceeding this distance, then we will give up and stop looking. What do you think?" When Chen Ziya heard this, she knew that the chance of finding them was not great, but since Lin Changqing was willing to make an effort, she would accompany him. So she nodded, agreeing to Lin Changqing's proposal. But before setting off, Lin Changqing picked up the fragments of the Thunder Escape Talisman and the Wind Escape Talisman left at the scene. He also let Maoqiu smell the smell on them. As a spirit-seeking rat, he is quite sensitive to smells, although he can't use it specifically for tracking. But with a smell, he can still judge whether the 2 people are nearby. After packing up everything, the 2 set off. Just like before, Lin Changqing took Chen Ziya with him on his sword. The light gauze magic weapon covered the 2 people, and Maoqiu was caught in Chen Ziya's hand. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 473 Want to create another bamboo forest. Lin Changqing and his companions were not flying very fast along the way, just to use the sense of smell of the hairball to see if they could find the 2 monks who had just escaped. However, after almost 2 hours of struggling, the two still had no gains. But at this time, they had already left the sacrificial array, more than 200 miles away. Finally, it was only with Chen Ziya's reminder that Lin Changqing found a suitable place to rest. In fact, he did not think about it from another angle. If he met such a powerful person, he would definitely run away at the first time. Maybe he would have to change the direction 2 or 3 times to prevent being tracked by others, so he would not dare to stay nearby, so he was destined to toss in vain tonight. It was still the old rules. Chen Ziya was responsible for setting up the array, and the first and second order purple crystal scorpions were responsible for the outer perimeter alert and defense. Then the two took the time to rest. In a place like the secret realm, it is very important to maintain enough energy. If you don't rest well and are not in good spirits, giving others an opportunity to take advantage of you, then you are doomed. That's why they had to take the time to rest. After all, only 6 or 7 days had passed, and there were still more than 20 days to go. The next day, the two of them took a long rest before packing up their things. Then, according to the original plan, they flew towards the direction of the purple bamboo forest. Along the way, Chuai gave them early warnings. If it was a cultivator, they would stagger and try not to take action if they could. If they encountered a second-level monster, they would try to take it down. So, when Lin Changqing and the others arrived at the purple bamboo forest, there were already 7 or 8 more monster pills and some second-level monster corpses in the storage bag. However, they set out late today, and they were hunting monsters along the way, so when they arrived here, it was almost evening. Lin Changqing took Chen Ziya directly to the place where he camped last time, leaving Chen Ziya to set up the magic circle and the camp. He was worried, so he released some purple crystal scorpions to protect her. Then he entered the purple bamboo forest. There were originally hundreds of shocking god cicadas here, but Lin Changqing captured more than 480 of them. Now, listening to the cicadas in the bamboo forest, the cicadas are sparse, and it is estimated that there may be less than 100 left. However, this place is still a very dangerous place for other cultivators. Once you enter, you may stay in it forever and cannot get out. Therefore, after Lin Changqing and the others discussed, they decided not to let Chen Ziya enter the purple bamboo forest. Let her stay in the magic circle first, and Lin Changqing will go in alone to dig the purple bamboo bushes. This will be safer. When making this decision, Lin Changqing also had selfish motives. This time, he not only wanted to fill up more than 20 spiritual plant bags, he also planned to dig as much as possible and transplant them into the inner space. Otherwise, even if the shocking cicadas were really subdued by him in the future, it would be very difficult for him to support them, so this time, he simply took advantage of this rare opportunity to dig as many purple bamboo bushes as possible and transplant them into the inner space. This is the only way to solve the problem once and for all. Otherwise, he was really considering whether to contract these shocking cicadas. A man came to the middle of the purple bamboo forest and scanned it with his spiritual sense. He confirmed that there were no other living creatures except for the few startling cicadas he found. He was relieved and set up a second-level breathing array. He didn't dare to delay. He found a spiritual hoe and started digging. There were large and small purple bamboo bushes like this. Lin Changqing specifically picked the moderate ones to dig. A large bush would require several people to hug together. It would obviously not be cost-effective to choose this kind of digging. In a day, he might not be able to dig many bushes. So he specifically looked for the kind that was already formed but could be hugged by 1 or 2 people. This size was used for digging. It took about a quarter of an hour to dig out a bush. Before he knew it, it was completely dark. He looked at the harvest and found that he had only dug 5 bushes in total. He felt that this speed was still a bit slow. But now it was dark, and he couldn't stay here any longer. He got up and walked towards the camp, ready to go back and meet up with Chen Ziya. At least he should go back and tell her that he is safe, and then consider whether to come in and continue digging at night. After a while, he returned to the camp. Chen Ziya had already prepared King Gaiyu tea and was waiting for him to come back. Brother Qing, you have worked hard. I guess you should come back soon. I prepared spiritual tea for you. It's just right to drink it now, Chen Ziya said with a smile. Lin Changqing was very happy. He hugged her with a smile, took the spiritual tea and drank it all. Chen Ziya poured him a few more cups. After drinking it, he said, "It's not too hard. It's just that those purple bamboo bushes are not so easy to dig. I guess we may need to delay here for a few days. Moreover, the cicadas we have now are all adults. I want to spend some time to see if I can find their eggs in the purple bamboo forest. In that case, although it will take a lot of time to recultivate them, it is safe and reliable. When they become stronger in the future, we will not be easily backlashed. Chen Ziya felt that it made sense, but it was not known how long it would take to recultivate them. She herself was more inclined to subdue these adults directly, but since Lin Changqing had this idea, she also supported it. So she continued to ask, how long do we need to stay here? If we stay too long, that won't work. We still have to look for demon pills everywhere to help you fight for the last chance. We can't stay here for too long. After Lin Changqing pondered for a moment, he said, there is no rush to find the demon pills for the time being. Let's talk about it after a while. I preliminarily estimate that it may take 3 to 7 days here. Anyway, you don't run around these few days, just try to stay in the magic circle to practice. If there is anything, just use the phoenix tail homophonic kite to send me a message. Then I will rush back as soon as possible. Chen Ziya nodded. Now this is the only way. She doesn't have the Yushin soul shield, so she definitely can't enter the purple bamboo forest. So, after the two of them finished drinking the spiritual tea, they began to practice. When the two opened their eyes again, it was more than 2 hours later. Lin Changqing couldn't help but pull her together again and practice the Yin-Yang Harmony Sutra. A long time passed like this until everything was calm. Chapter 474 Preparing for Bamboo Planting. After the storm calmed down, the two of them hugged each other quietly. Lin Changqing pondered for a while. Then he said to Chen Ziya, there is nothing to do in the evening. I am going to go to the purple bamboo forest and dig some more purple bamboo bushes. If you are free, please deal with the monsters and spoils we harvested. After that, he took out the 13 storage bags that he searched from the Yuga sect monk last night, as well as the monster corpses harvested today. Chen Ziya nodded and said, then don't work too hard, don't work too late, try to come back early to rest. Lin Changqing nodded, hugged her warmly for a while, and left the magic circle. Then he released all the first-level purple crystal scorpions and left some second-level purple crystal scorpions. Let them surround this place and form a 3-layer 3-dimensional defense to protect the safety of Chen Ziya and this camp. He only took a small part of the second-level purple crystal scorpions. Lin Changqing believed that the purple bamboo forest was the safest place for him. Arriving at the innermost part of the purple bamboo forest, the surroundings were all pitch black, but to be honest, for a cultivator, it actually didn't have much of an impact. It was just that he had to use his spiritual sense to observe the surroundings all the time, which was more mentally taxing, but Lin Changqing had a way. He took out a lot of glow stones from the spirit beast bracelet. At that time, he had obtained a lot of glow stones from the cave of the ancient cultivator in the Jiang secret realm. He had always kept them in the spirit beast bracelet for the purple crystal scorpion to use, but he didn't expect that they would come in handy today. With a light source, he didn't have to spend so much energy, so he chose another suitable clump of purple bamboo and started digging immediately. He did this for several hours until Chen Ziya felt it was too late and urged him to go back with a conch. The next day, after completing the basic training, he continued to start the great cause of digging the purple bamboo bush. Finally, after filing all his spirit plant bags, he immediately returned to the second-level breathing formation that he had set up last night. Then he went directly into the inner space. He hadn't been in for a while, but time was precious, so he immediately summoned Su Miniang and Zhao Linyu. The two thought that Lin Changqing had some urgent tasks to give them to complete, so they quickly put down everything they were doing and rushed to the yard. I greet the master, I greet the master. After the two greeted each other, they looked at Lin Changqing, obviously waiting for his instructions. But at this time, all the 3-color deer also surrounded him, including Lu Yuan and his family. They kept calling Yo-Yo beside him. There was no way, Lin Changqing could only comfort them first. He simply released Lu Yaoqiang and Lu Yaoguang. In the past few days, he must have stayed in the purple bamboo forest to dig purple bamboo. So Lu Yaoqiang and Lu Yaoguang should not be needed, so let them stay in the inner space for a few days, and they can also help with a few days of work. All the deer were fed with Yuling pills and Zhu fruits. Each of the 6 second-level 3-color deer was fed a Zhu fruit. As for the 4 first-level little guys, each was allocated half a red fruit, and after playing with them and cultivating their feelings for a while, they were sent out to play by themselves. At this time, Lin Changqing took care of Su Miniang and the others. He said to them directly without being polite, I am now in a trial secret realm and found a large area of purple bamboo forest. I plan to try my best to transplant them into the inner space. This project should be quite large, and it requires the two of you to cooperate with all your strength. Is that okay? Su Miniang and Zhao Linai looked at each other and were a little disappointed. They thought they could go out for a walk, but they didn't expect it to be such a planting task. However, Zhao Linai still asked, Master, do you need us to go out and dig the purple bamboo bushes together? Lin Changqing shook his head and said, No. You don't have to go out. There is a kind of God-shaking cicada in the purple bamboo forest outside. Ordinary cultivators have no way to survive there. So you just need to dig a hole of suitable size in the inner space, and then plant the purple bamboo bushes I sent in. There are quite a few this time, and you must pay attention to leave a more appropriate spacing. Don't make it too dense. At this time, Su Miniang also said, Then Master, where are you going to plant these purple bamboos? Lin Changqing had thought about this problem a long time ago, and said without hesitation, just plant it at the very edge of the inner space. I have also caught a lot of the God-shaking cicadas I just mentioned, and maybe I will keep them in the inner space in the future. So, in order not to affect you and other spirit beasts, it is better to place them at the very edge. Zhao Liao was still very curious when she heard it. She also knew a little bit of animal taming skills, so she couldn't help but say, Master, can you let us see the kind of shocking cicada you mentioned? Hearing Zhao Liao's request, Lin Changqing was also slightly stunned. He didn't expect that they would still have such curiosity. However, it was also easy for him to meet their request. He suppressed his smile. He said to them, Then you must be ready. Their innate magic spell, the shocking soul technique, is contained in the sound of cicadas. It is a very powerful soul attack. You'd better stay away from me, at least 100 feet, and then concentrate your mind and guard the spirit platform tightly. I will get a shocking cicada and let you see it. When the two heard Lin Changqing's order, they knew that this thing must be very powerful, so they hurriedly ran more than 100 feet away according to his request. Seeing that the two of them were ready, Lin Changqing caught a second-level shocking cicada from the spirit beast bracelet. The environment suddenly changed. Although it had not eaten for several days and its spirit was not as good as at the beginning, it still cried desperately. Seeing that the two people more than 100 feet away were already shaky, Lin Changqing quickly threw the shocking cicada in his hand back into the spirit beast bracelet. After waiting for a while, Su Miniang and the other person finally recovered, and then they returned to Lin Changqing. They all looked unsettled. Zhao Linai couldn't help but say, This thing is too powerful. When I heard the sound, my whole head seemed to be empty. If the distance was closer, and it suddenly came like this, then our opponents would be completely at the mercy of others. Chapter 475, Effortless. Su Miniang also reacted at this time, and suddenly she was full of yearning for this kind of God-shocking cicada. She couldn't help but ask Lin Changqing, Master, if we are lucky enough to make contributions in the future, can you reward us with a few God-shocking cicadas? That way we will be stronger and can better complete the Master's task. Zhao Liao also said with a smile, Yes, Master. Can I exchange the spirit beast you promised for 2 such God-shocking cicadas? Lin Changqing was also quite surprised when he heard this. He didn't expect the charm of the God-shocking cicada to be so great that Su Miniang and Zhao Liao actually asked for it. But after thinking about it, Lin Changqing still said, I can't agree to this request now. I haven't found any way to subdue them. However, I have kept your request in mind. When I really subdue them in the future, I will seriously consider it. But now, let's deal with the matter of the purple bamboo forest first. It happens that I already have dozens of clumps of purple bamboo on me. Let's find a place to plant them together. Su Miniang and Zhao Linai both agreed to it quickly, and then the three of them came to the edge of the space. Lin Changqing directly released all the purple bamboo clumps in the spiritual plant bag. After discussing it, the three decided to control the distance between them to about 5 feet. The advantage of doing this is that it leaves them with enough growth space so that they will not grow impenetrable in the future. Su Miniang is still good at digging pits. After all, she is a cultivator who practices the attribute of the cultivator. So after Lin Changqing planted a few clumps with him, he knew that they had no idea at all. So after instructing them to dig more pits, he exited the inner space and returned to the purple bamboo forest to continue his excavation. Unknowingly, 5 days passed, and during this time he dug thousands of purple bamboos. He is now experienced and practice makes perfect, and he can dig about 200 purple bamboos every day. However, he still didn't find the eggs of the god-shocking cicada, which is a bit regrettable. Lin Changqing plans to dig for another 2 or 3 days if there are no other discoveries. He and Chen Ziyao are going to go to the valley where the white jade soul-devouring spider was found. This is what they had discussed a few days ago. It was probably at noon that day, Lin Changqing suddenly received a warning from the first day of the first lunar month. 3 monks rushed towards the purple bamboo forest at high speed. Lin Changqing immediately notified Chen Ziyao with a conch and asked her to pay attention to safety, but he did not go to meet her. Because they did not come from the direction where Chen Ziyao was, but deviated a lot of distance. Lin Changqing went straight to meet them. It was very boring to dig purple bamboo bushes these days. Now there is something exciting to watch, he wants to go and see it. Maybe by chance, he can get some benefits. In the past few days, there are also 2 or 3 monks approaching here, but they did not enter the purple bamboo forest, and they were scared away by the shocking cicadas. But this time is different. Through Chu Ai's feedback, he knows that there is a monk running in front, and there are 2 monks chasing behind. So this time it should not be that simple, so Lin Changqing decided to join in the fun. Sure enough, when they approached the purple bamboo forest, the shocking cicadas began to chirp, and the female monk flying in front of them flew on the flying sword. Then immediately used a bell-like spiritual tool to cover her head. At this time, the cicadas did not stop chirping. Although the female cultivator seemed to be affected a lot, she could at least withstand the attack of the shocking cicadas and fly through the purple bamboo forest with her sword. The 2 monks behind also realized that something was wrong at this time. They also heard the cicadas chirping and were affected to a certain extent. Because they were several hundred feet away from the female monk in front, this also gave them enough time to react. Finally, they controlled it and stopped about 100 feet away from the purple bamboo forest. But at this time, Lin Changqing could no longer suppress his excitement and chose to attack directly. The 12 purple crystal scorpions following him rushed out at the first time. They turned into 12 purple lights and rushed directly to the 2 monks who were suspended in the air, and 12 purple light rays shot out immediately. In fact, the 2 monks who were suspended in the air knew what they were facing when they saw the 12 purple lights. I didn't expect that my luck was so bad and I bumped into his hands again. I was so scared that I almost fell off the flying sword. Instinctively, I tried my best to activate the top-grade defensive spiritual weapon in my hand, but before they could make any more moves, the purple light rays were already approaching, and the several defensive spiritual talismans on my body and the defensive spiritual weapon that had just been activated were immediately broken. After 2 extremely sharp screams, bang, bang, with 2 sounds, they fell directly from the flying sword. Lin Changqing immediately ordered the purple crystal scorpion to go down and finish off their heads. This time, he was almost laughing out loud, because the 2 monks he had just killed were the 2 monks who had escaped outside the sacrificial array that night using the wind escape talisman and the thunder escape talisman. This time, they were caught off guard and no longer had a chance to escape. The chase and being killed were completed in an instant, and everything was so fast that it caught people off guard. Now the only one left is the monk who escaped using the earth movement technique. I don't know if I can meet him again in the remaining time. And he also knew the female monk who ran into the purple bamboo forest. She was Song Yuan from the Maoyu sect who brought him here. As soon as she entered the purple bamboo forest, she kept rushing forward regardless of anything. Lin Changqing suspected that she might have used her magic power to block her hearing and used the bell spirit weapon to protect her head. I don't know why these people Lin Changqing knew got together, but he has roughly guessed what happened. Song Yuan from Maoyu sect obviously regarded this dangerous bamboo forest as a good place to help her escape. Indeed, facing the sole attack of the shocking cicada for the first time, unprepared cultivators are very likely to suffer a great loss. If they go too deep, they may even die in it. So if it is really used well, this is indeed a very wonderful place. If you plan it intentionally or unintentionally, you may be able to turn the tables with this place. Lin Changqing used the phoenix tail homophonic conch to notify Chen Ziyao to come here to help collect the spoils, and he turned around and chased after Song Yuan. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.